Vaishnav Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Devati Swapadadikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Prabhuji Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Saptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Navadeshwari Vishwamute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanam Bhava Vaishnav Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So Prabhujis can all come this side. So Matajis will, this hall is going to be filled very soon. It's like jam packed before the time come this side.
Kids also come in the front, please. All kids, please.
So some of you don't know Hare Krishna. So some of you don't know who is Varada Krishna Prabhu. Varada Krishna Prabhu is one of the HTMC members in Hyderabad temple. And Prabhuji has helped us connect with Hyderabad temple whole satsang here. And Prabhuji also is the temple president of Narasimha Girdhari temple in Bangalore. And if we are thinking that we have spent 10 years, 15 years, Prabhuji has spent his whole life in Krishna consciousness. So some of our age may not be how many years he has spent in Krishna consciousness. So I'm very excited that Prabhuji is here. It's been a long gap, more than a year since Prabhuji has come here. Unfortunately, COVID also stopped the whole thing. But I'm very happy that Prabhuji is here today. So let's take Azimuth Association and ask all our questions and queries, whatever we want to learn in Krishna consciousness. Well, Prabhuji is here. So let's once again welcome enthusiastically, lovingly, with 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai Shri Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai Shri Srinivas Govinda Shri Devi Bhudevi ki Jai. I forget the name of the deity. Gopi Vallabha. Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha ki Jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Etiquettes ki Jai. Jagat Guru Pati Pavan Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. What's the correct time?
5:41.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank Lilananda Prabhu for remembering me and inviting me. I consider this as a special honor to be, that you people even remember me and so to call me.
We never forgot you, bro.
Small person. But I'm overwhelmed by your affection and good feelings towards me. Though I don't know how much I deserve that, but definitely I'm very grateful to all of you. It's, every time I see you all in the temple gives me a great amount of pleasure that you're all serving under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Radha Madan Mohan. And when I first met Lilananda Prabhu, that's the impression I got, that he was a great deal of hankering for getting the shelter of Sri Radha Madan Mohan and working under the shelter of these wonderful deities. And somehow I just happened to play a small instrumental role in facilitating your desires to come and work under the shelter of Radha Madan Mohan. And I'm so happy that ever since I've had a variety of, numerous interactions with all of you during, I remember the Rath Yatra festival that was done in 2019.
Very memorable.
When you all got to do Prashadam service,
Yes.
Prashadam distribution service. And also I remember the promos that you did. And I remember Suma Mataji's and a little children's brigade and the campaign that they did for the Rath Yatra is very, very memorable. I just helped them out a little bit initially, but then oh my God, they just freaked out. It was amazing, the campaign. We did a little bit during Janmashtami also, I think, 2019. 2020 was kind of washed out. But 21 promises to be an exciting year because 21, just take it, he must be on the fourth floor. 21 promises to be an exciting year, or let's make it exciting year. We have a lot of initiatives. We have started in a very organized manner, online preaching. We call it this Gita Sandesh program. So that's happening. Then we also have, we are promoting festivals, different events. And we've got a whole, unlike in the past now, we have a whole team which is doing social media promotions, in-house team. We have a team, and then we also have volunteers, registered volunteers who are helping us. So we hope to take this forward. But I really look forward to working with this little children's brigade, youth brigade from Gachibowli area. That was a whole amazing experience working with them. So I really look forward to working with all these people. I don't know how many of you contributed making posters, how many of you did?
They all did.
2019 Rath Yatra.
They all did, Prabhuji.
So nice. So you'll get some chances like that again.
Prabhuji, can I ask the most exciting question I'm waiting for? Is there Rath Yatra this year?
Yeah, definitely.
Haribol! Haribol!
Prabhuji, then can we make a request for Prasadam service to be given to us?
Yeah, why not? Why only that? You should ask for more. Why only that?
We want to sponsor the entire Prasadam from us.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. I'm grateful to you for doing that. But we'll figure out, there must be more than that. I'd be very grateful if you do that, but if you can do more, that's even better. Yes, that's the plan. Hopefully by that time this COVID vaccine will roll out, and I don't know, there's a little bit of a scare now, it seems to be going up again.
Yes,
But I don't know how long this upward spike will last. I guess sooner or later this vaccine will change things. At least that's the hope. So, I'm very grateful to all of you. I'm very happy to be part of this family and continue to serve you all in whatever way I can. Alright, so today the topic that was given to me is to share whatever I can about Vaishnav etiquette. This is one huge topic. Kind of topic you don't know where to begin. Because, see, there is, as we read through some of the points that I have made out, there's no aspect of our life that is independent of Vaishnava etiquette. Every aspect of our life comes under the purview of Vaishnava etiquette. So etiquette means behaving in our behavior, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we behave ourselves, or rather, etiquette literally means acceptable standards of behavior. Etiquette means acceptable, shall I say, good standards of behavior. So, I thought I'll just begin with one small quote by His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. What he says about Vaishnava etiquette and what is the relative importance of Vaishnava etiquette in our life. He says, if we don't know how to deal properly, then we commit offenses. That is, if we don't know how to deal with one another properly, then we commit offenses. And eventually we won't be able to go very close to Krishna. So it is very important to know how to deal and behave with each other properly and very respectfully. So it's very important that we know how to behave with one another very carefully, very respectfully. Because otherwise we commit offenses. If we commit offenses, then that's a speed breaker in our spiritual growth. Most of the weeds of devotional service are also in dealing with behavior. That is, all the weeds, that is, weeds means that look like bhakti but actually impede the growth or cut down the growth of the real creeper. These are all unwanted weeds, they are called weeds. Unwanted plants that grow around the bhakti creeper. So these unwanted creeps are for example, kutinati. Kutinati means very diplomatic, polished behavior. Now what we mean by saying diplomatic is that we say one thing that, we say things that we don't mean. Definitely our behavior tends to be very different when in the presence of the person or in the absence of the person. So that's a big test for Vaishnavas. How we behave, or what do we say about somebody in his presence and in his absence. Of course, there are exceptions. And play some political situations, or we indulge in jiva himsa. Jiva himsa means treating someone very aggressively to harm a person emotionally or physically. Even harming a person emotionally is considered jiva himsa. Harming a person emotionally is also considered jiva himsa. So lots of obstacles in our devotional service come because of such behavior. That's what His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj is mentioning. And finally, there's one statement that I thought was very important. Vaishnavas are worth dying for. Why should we offend or deal disrespectfully or improperly with them? He says Vaishnavas are worth dying for. That means Vaishnavas are so special, so rare that they're worth dying for. And when that's how we have to deal with Vaishnavas, how can we even be disrespectful to them or offend them or deal with them improperly? So basically, this is just a kind of a precursor, curtain raiser, or this statement by Jayapataka Maharaj will help us create the ground for further discussion. So here Jayapataka Maharaj is saying, what is he saying? He's saying Vaishnavas are worth dying for, and where is the question of either behaving improperly with them or criticizing them or offending them or even dealing with them disrespectfully. So now, as far as Vaishnava conduct is concerned, Vaishnava etiquette is concerned, the fundamental teachings of Vaishnava etiquette come from a conversation that Lord Chaitanya has with Sanatana Goswami. So Lord Chaitanya is talking to Sanatana Goswami, and in that conversation, Lord Chaitanya is telling Sanatana Goswami that I want you to write a book. I want you to write on proper Vaishnava, on Vaishnava etiquette, Vaishnava behavior, Vaishnava. The word used in Vaishnava culture is Sadachar. Sadachar means desirable work, desirable way of behaving with one another. So Sanatana Goswami was told by Lord Chaitanya, I want you to write a book. Actually, this whole conversation is also an example of Vaishnava etiquette. Lord Chaitanya calls Sanatana Goswami and tells him, I want you to write this book. It's so important. The Vaishnava should know how to deal with one another. Vaishnava Vaishnava should understand how precious other devotees are, and they should learn how to deal with one another. Then Sanatana Goswami, in a perfect exemplary Vaishnava conduct, what does he do? He looks at Lord Chaitanya and says, how can I write a book? I'm so full of faults. I'm so unqualified. I'm so incompetent. I'm so lowly. I don't see myself being qualified to write on such an exalted topic as to how devotees have to deal with one another. Because basically how devotees deal with one another is the crux of Vaishnava community. Everything, Vaishnava community building or all such things are based on how devotees deal with one another. So Sanatana Goswami says that I don't see myself as being capable of writing this book at all. How can I write? But then he makes a prayer. He tells Lord Chaitanya, it is possible under one condition. If you enter my heart and if you shower your mercy upon me and if you take charge of my mind, my heart, and then whatever you want may kindly manifest through me. I don't see myself being capable, but then if you take charge of my life, my mind, my intelligence, my faculties, then maybe by your mercy, whatever you intended will come out of this writing. So I beg you that if you want to order me to write, then it has to be you who is writing. I just become an instrument in your hand. So this by itself is an example of Vaishnav etiquette. This by itself is in one sense, this by itself defines the way a student behaves in front of the teacher, or for that matter, the disciple behaves in front of Guru, or for that matter, how a Vaishnava behaves in front of his authority. So Sanatana Goswami requests Lord Chaitanya, only you can make it happen. I don't see myself being capable of writing. And Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased at this attitude of Sanatana Goswami. See, this is something we have to note. Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased at this humility, submission, and dependence on the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He becomes very pleased with the behavior of Sanatana Goswami, and then immediately Lord Chaitanya says, he points out, he mentions, because of your mood, attitude, surrender, gentleness, whatever you want to do, you will be able to manifest. Because you have the grace of Krishna. So here, the words used by Lord Chaitanya in explaining or glorifying, appreciating Sanatana Goswami are, he says, because of your mood, attitude, surrender, gentleness, whatever you want to do, you will be able to manifest because you have won the grace of Krishna. But, however, because you have asked me, I shall give you some synopsis, some guidelines on Vaishnava Sadachar, on Vaishnava etiquette, because you have asked me. So, Vaishnava etiquette is so nice, so delicate, so, I would say, so sweet. So the moment you get some task, it's not that you just jump ahead and start doing it. Yeah, it may be the simplest of tasks, it may be difficult, but that's not the point. The point is, when something is interested you, what do you do? Going by Sanatana Goswami's example, what are you supposed to do? Going by Sanatana Goswami's example, I want the children to answer. When something is interested you, going by Sanatana Goswami's example, what are you supposed to do? What do you do? What did Sanatana, okay, I'll turn it around. What did Sanatana Goswami do? What did Sanatana Goswami do?
Trying to take shelter of.
Huh? What's that?
Depend on Krishna.
Don't give me general answers. I asked you specifically. What did Sanatana Goswami say or do?
Did you guidance?
Yes, go ahead.
He said he was humble. He said he couldn't do it himself.
He addressed whom?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes, perfect. Tell me, then what else did he say?
He said that he didn't have the strength to do it himself, and if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives his mercy and helps him, then he will do it.
Nice. Thank you. You have been alert. Okay, so what did Lord Chaitanya say by way of response? Anybody else? Children's group. What did Lord Chaitanya say as soon as he heard this?
He got pleased.
Yes. So what does he say?
Because of your mood, attitude,
Tell me. Be louder.
mood,
Yes.
mood, attitude, and surrender.
Surrender, gentleness.
Gentleness. You you shall be able to do it.
Yeah, correct. You shall be able to do it because you have won the
Praise of Krishna.
grace of Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you very much. So maybe I'll keep dropping questions like this at random. So,
Yes. Now we are alert.
so I mean, these questions could go to any group. Thank you. So Lord Chaitanya tells them, and then Lord Chaitanya finally says, because you are asking me, I will try and say some synopsis. Some synopsis means some essential points I will try and share with you. And then Lord Chaitanya begins sharing with Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is like a perfect student, very alert, very attentive, very careful, and maybe he's making notes. I don't know in those days how they would make notes. Maybe they would write down on something. Or maybe they were so blessed by Krishna and Lord Chaitanya that they could remember. They could write it down in their memory. So I don't know which of the methods he used, but definitely we can know that he was very respectful, very attentive, very careful, very meditative, and very submissively listening to Lord Chaitanya's words. And Lord Chaitanya becomes pleased with this attitude. Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased with this attitude of Sanatana Goswami, and then he begins instructing him. So there were more than, Lord Chaitanya goes on for quite a bit. I just picked up out of the various points that were mentioned by Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami, about 15 or 20 or maybe a little more than that. I picked up some important points. So that, which I thought for a practicing devotee these would be relevant. Now the first thing, it's so interesting to note that the first thing that Lord Chaitanya says is, the first thing in Vaishnava etiquette, you wouldn't possibly expect Lord Chaitanya would say that. The first thing that Lord Chaitanya says is, the first element of Vaishnava etiquette, that is, if I were to practice, if I want to become a Vaishnava, a good Vaishnava with acceptable standard of worship, acceptable standard of behavior, the first thing that Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami, he should take the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. He should take the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. He should be under the shelter of a bona fide. Why is that so important? Because, see, the moment somebody takes the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, it means he's accepting that there's so much more he has to learn, there's very little he knows, and he wants to learn, and he wants to be guided, he wants to be corrected. Nobody takes a spiritual master unless you want to be guided, you want to be corrected, you want to be, what shall I say, you want to be mentored, you want to be instructed, and you want to be engaged in the service. Unless you're willing to, you don't accept a spiritual master. You accept a spiritual master because you want to learn how to be a nice devotee, how to serve the deities, how to serve the Vaishnavas, how to serve Krishna, how to serve the previous acharyas, because you want to learn. And because you're willing to be corrected, because you're willing to be, shall I say, engaged, and because you're willing to be submissive and surrendered. The first step, Lord Chaitanya says, is first step in Vaishnava etiquette is, has he accepted a guru? If he has not accepted one, then do something, accept a guru first. That is a clear indication that you want to learn Vaishnava etiquette properly. Or shall I say, that's a clear indication of wanting to please Lord Chaitanya. So that's the first thing that he says. The second thing he says is, Lord Chaitanya says is, Lord Chaitanya goes on to describe what are the characteristics of a guru and what are the characteristics of a disciple, so that you get it right first time, in the sense that how do we choose a guru and how does a disciple conduct himself in front of the guru? How does one choose a guru and how does the disciple conduct himself in front of the guru? So Lord Chaitanya elaborates on these 2 points as well to Sanatana Goswami. So he kind of completes the loop. Choose a guru, be under him. How do you choose one, and how should a disciple conduct himself? Now, if I were to throw this question open and ask you, how should a disciple conduct himself in front of a guru? What would you say? Now, these are foundational principles of Vaishnava etiquette. Foundational principles. See, the reason why I'm saying this is because we never stop being a disciple. I mean, no matter how big we are. No matter that in due course of time, maybe somebody may become a guru. But his fundamental identity is that of a disciple. His fundamental identity is not that of a GBC or a president or a this or a that. The fundamental identity of a devotee is always that he is a disciple of so-and-so guru. He is a servant of this guru. He is a servant of all these Vaishnavas. And he is serving here under the guidance, under the leadership, under the supervision of so-and-so Vaishnavas. So we never stop being a disciple. Do you understand what I am saying? I mean, by the way, in terms of my functional responsibility, somebody may be president, somebody may be vice president, somebody may be this, somebody may be that. But that's in terms of functional responsibility. But in terms of one's real identity, what are we? What are we? We are disciples. We never stop being disciples. And we like that position. A person who is a genuine Vaishnava will always happily, joyfully remember that he is a disciple. And what does disciple mean? Actually, disciple means servant. Servant of the Guru. This is the only ornament that he wears all the time. And by the way, in terms of functional responsibility, I may be so and so for some time, I may be elsewhere for some time, I may be president, I may be this, I may be that, or I may just be a pujari or something like that. But my fundamental identity is I am a disciple. By that I mean I am a servant, I am a disciple. I serve my Guru, I follow. And for me, the definition of service, when one becomes a disciple, what is the definition of service? What is service for a disciple?
Executing Guru's order.
That's it. Do what you're told. For a disciple, the definition of service is doing what he is told. Doing what he is told. Doing what he is commanded to do. So, that is the reason why Lord Chaitanya says the first step is to accept a Guru. But the moment we accept a Guru, it's a very clear indication that I accept my insignificant position. I want to live like that. That is what I want to be. That is what I want to stay as a disciple. I want to stay as a disciple. I want to stay as a servant. I mean, we shouldn't. What can I say? We should understand that. We have a problem when we stop learning. And we stop learning, then we stop thinking, when we start thinking that some other identity of mine is more important than this primary identity of being the servant of Guru. I'm the president, how can you tell me? I'm already this, I'm already that, I'm already GBC, I'm already this, I'm already that. How can anybody tell me? I don't know. So the moment we stop thinking of ourselves as a servant of our Guru, when we have a problem, we don't learn so earnestly, so honestly, so enthusiastically. Or there's something happens, that switching, that faculty of gentleness, hearing, listening, lending ourselves to correction, slowly fades out in our mind. And that is the beginning of all kinds of problems. So let's get back to the question I asked. What are the characteristics of a disciple in the context of what we have discussed? We're going to be together for a while now, so might as well discuss. What are the characteristics of a disciple? Yes, Tatvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. That means we inquire submissively, very humbly from Guru, and then we serve him. Surrender and serve him. What are the other characteristics of a disciple?
Discipline.
Yes, very good, very good. A disciple means discipline. How do you define discipline?
Should be very firm in his execution his services.
Pardon me?
Very pakka in his execution his services. Whatever. It's very time bound and so.
Correct. So, actually, how do we define disciple? Or rather, how do we define discipline? If you are...
Many more to come. Sorry.
So, okay, in the context of a Guru-Shishya relationship, I'll ask the children once again, in the context of a Guru-Shishya relationship, how do we define discipline?
Humble.
Humble? Very good. Then?
Follow what the Guru says.
To do what the Guru says.
Yeah. So, how is that discipline? You almost got it right, but I want you to elaborate a little bit. In the context of a Guru-Shishya relationship, how does discipline, what role does discipline play?
It will allow them to follow Guru's instructions sincerely.
Yeah, more or less. But see, I'm
Discipline.
just looking for little different words, that's all. So, in the context of Guru-Shishya relationship, how does the word discipline come? In other words, see, I might decide my daily schedule. I might decide, I'll get up at so and so time, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, and I'll stick to it. That's discipline, right? Is that discipline?
It's
Dedication, serving dedication.
whatever the Guru wants, you have to.
Yeah, there you are. So, yes, Mataji.
I just want to extend that. Prabhupada says in one of the purports that we should understand that Guru is more intelligent than us.
Exactly.
So, we are not intelligent, but Guru is so intelligent that whatever he says, we should have.
So-
Both are better, but he is a true meditation.
Yes. So basically, discipline means you follow something that someone else is telling you to do. He decides. So like for example, the 4:30 program in our temples is not made up by me, it's made up by Prabhupada. So discipline for a disciple means you set aside your independence, set aside your thinking, set aside your plans, set aside your way of doing things or analyzing things or whatever. You just follow what has been decided for you by your Guru. Your Guru might decide saying, I want you to spend an hour, 4:30 to 5:30 every day in the temple hall talking to guests who come. He might even say 7:30 to 8:30, I want you to be there during the Shine Aarti. Whatever he decides, and that becomes your daily schedule, that becomes your discipline. See, basically, the moment you independently chart out your own program, whatever that may be, to whatever degree we want to be independent, to that degree we are not surrendered to Guru and Krishna. So basically, discipline means accepting. Yes, discipline means doing the same thing over time after time after day, day after day after day. That's what we understand by the word discipline. But who decides what you do? Guru decides. Guru decides what we do. So at any point of time, we should be careful not to disconnect Guru from any aspect of our spiritual life. Any aspect, which is why Lord Chaitanya says, the first point that he says is, accept a Guru. You want to learn about Vaishnav etiquette, accept a Guru. Why do we accept a Guru? Because we accept a Guru because from that point of time when we accept a Guru, our life, basically everything in our life is chosen by someone else. Who is that someone else? Our Guru. He tells us, like Mataji just said, Prabhupada said, Guru is more intelligent. And he works on a different platform. We believe in our Vaishnava culture, we believe the Guru is empowered, representative of Krishna. He chooses for us, he decides for us. Alright? So, now, somewhere up there in the list, Lord Chaitanya also says that, yes, a person, a devotee or a disciple should be very convinced, he should be assured, he should be clear, he should be convinced about the spiritual master's exalted position. Now, this is also part of Vaishnava etiquette. Why is this part of Vaishnava etiquette? Because the fundamental relationship a person, a devotee has, is the relationship with his Guru. That's the foundational relationship from which everything springs. So Lord Chaitanya is saying that he should be assured, he should be clear in his mind, and he should be convinced about the exalted position of the spiritual master in his life. About the exalted position. Alright? So we'll quickly review. What are the 3 points that we spoke about? Point number 1. Spiritual master. Which means I would like you all to see, it's just a request because we're talking about Vaishnava etiquette. I would like you to add that footnote or add that postscript saying accepting a spiritual master and submissively, enthusiastically serving him. If you wish, you can add the word unconditionally, submissively serving him. Because See, sometimes adding these two words is important because otherwise it just becomes loosely symbolic. Accepting a spiritual master. Yeah, so what does it mean to you? I mean, how does it, what is it in terms of your thinking? What does it mean? Okay, I accepted my guru. Alright, now I have a guru. I have a different name. I have this. No, that's, then you've lost it out. You lost the game. So if you were to say, accepting a guru, worship, accepting a guru and serving him, submissively serving him according to his instructions and doing so lovingly and unconditionally. Now, why is this aspect of unconditionality added? Is because there is no question of, you can't apply conditions in your relationship with Guru. I mean, how can you do that? Guru is absolute. Guru is the absolute, most perfect, most empowered, most wonderful, most important representative of Krishna in one's life. So our relationship with Guru has to be unconditional. So okay. So first point was accepting, taking the shelter of a bonafide spiritual master. What's the second point? Yes, correct. Who said that? Who said that? Somebody must be making notes. Yes, correct. Lord Chaitanya explained the characteristics of
Disciple.
spiritual master and disciple. Now what's the third point?
Disciple conduct in front of the guru.
Yes. The third point is
A disciple should accept the
he should be
exalted
assured. I mean, he should be convinced about the
position of the spiritual master.
exalted position of the spiritual master. Okay. Now, then the Lord Chaitanya further goes on to explain to Sanatana Goswami other aspects of Vaishnava culture, or shall I say Vaishnava etiquette. Now, there's an etiquette concerning the qualifications to receive the mantra. Mantra means, let's say, the Hare Krishna mantra that we receive from the Guru. Qualifications to receive the mantra. Then the practice of chanting the mantra. Achieving perfection, achieving purification and perfection through the process of chanting, and also preparing oneself for the process of initiation. It's kind of bundled together. I put them all together because they're all connected to one another. First is, Lord Chaitanya says that one should understand what are the qualifications required to receive the mantra. Then there is the practice of chanting the mantra, how to achieve purification, perfection by chanting the mantra. And then of course there is the process of initiation, that means formally accepting a guru. Formally accepting a guru. So, Lord Chaitanya explains to Sanatana Goswami, now you should understand one thing, why is Lord Chaitanya mentioning this? Because we keep hearing this word game changer, life changer, this kind of phrases are used so frequently. But genuinely speaking, if there was a justifiable use of this phrase, game changer, life changer, it can be used on the day we met Prabhupada's devotees, the way we started reading the books of Srila Prabhupada, and the day we started chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And then it formalizes, or shall I say, it becomes crystallized into a genuine game changer, or I'd like to use life changer, the day we accept initiation, that is, we formally surrender to the spiritual master. So Lord Chaitanya also emphasizes that there is this process called Diksha. I mean, there is this accepting a spiritual master. So, what happens when we accept a spiritual master? Or when do we say we have accepted a spiritual master? What happens when we accept a spiritual master?
Beginning of our spiritual life.
Formal beginning. Connection.
Connection. Yes, correct. Yes, correct. It gives you a formal connection to Krishna. Yes, then?
That is the beginning of our spiritual life.
That's the beginning of our spiritual life, correct. Well, we can't say beginning. We can say something like a very serious step forward in our spiritual life. Very serious. I mean, shall I say something? You could possibly say accepting a spiritual master is an irreversible, firm step in terms of wanting to make progress as a devotee of Krishna. Irreversible step. Accepting a spiritual master is generally considered irreversible. Until that point of time, you can give up chanting or whatever, but not after chant, not after initiation, not after diksha. Okay. So what else happens at the time of initiation?
We promise.
Yeah,
Take a
we
vow.
promise, we take a
When the
vow.
Vaishnavas, Guru and
We follow the
Krishna.
code and to principle.
We try our best then onwards to faithfully as we can, to comply with these 4 regulatory principles and the practice of serving the Guru, serving the mission of the Guru, serving instructions of the Guru. Yes, then?
You take once again a birth, Dvija.
Pardon me?
You take the birth once again, Dvija.
Something like that, yes, correct. It is actually a second birth.
You have
But
to
Srila
surrender
Prabhupada-
your mind, body and
Ah.
body.
This is the definition that a Gaudiya Vaishnava will give. Gaudiya Vaishnava will say, from that day onwards, from that point onwards, I belong to my Guru.
Yes.
I belong to my Guru. Now, I'll give you an example. Of course, it's not exactly a Guru-Shishya relationship, but it's also some kind of a relationship of, where we can study Vaishnava etiquette in the way it was practiced. So it's mentioned that just as much as Lakshmana was very fond of Lord Rama, it is said that Shatrughna was very fond of Bharata. This is just to illustrate that even among personalities of that caliber, there was some kind of a etiquette, shall I say, loving exchange. Actually, etiquette is just a euphemism, but what we are actually talking about is loving exchanges. When I say Vaishnava etiquette, all I am trying to say is, how is it possible for Vaishnavas to have loving exchanges? So, Shatrughna was deeply attached to Bharata just as much as Lakshmana was attached to Lord Rama. Okay. Now, it is mentioned that Kekeya province, once Bharata wanted to go there, and then he started packing his things. It's a very interesting example in the way Valmiki Ramayana chronicles this. So he's packing his things when he's going to Kekeya province. So what do you expect? Bharata is packing his dress and I don't know what else, ornaments, and maybe his favorite sword, or maybe his bow, or different things. What do you expect a royal, member of a royal family to pack when he's going to visit his uncle for some time? So, just as he's packing different things, like I said, there's another way of looking at Vaishnava etiquette is how do we facilitate and how do we have loving, sweet, everlasting relationships and loving, sweet exchanges among devotees. So he's packing different things, and then, by the way, he picks up, his favorite, like I said, his sword and maybe bow and arrow or this or that, maybe his shield or maybe his different things he's picking up, and he's also picking up Shatrughna. He's also picking up Shatrughna, and the only thing is, I don't think he put Shatrughna into some bag and zips him out. But otherwise, he picks up Shatrughna just like that. Just like he picks up anything else that is his favorite thing. And he just picks up Shatrughna, and then and Shatrughna is ever ready to go along with Bharata. So why is this an example? Why do I quote this as an example? Now, Vaishnava etiquette also means empathizing, sympathizing and showing love. Don't think that Vaishnava etiquette is all about, you go to the British Victorian style or British Victorian way of mannerisms. Don't think that Vaishnava etiquette is about being well-mannered. When someone comes, you have to bend your bow down and say, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please come. And you're just telling yourself in your mind, oh my God, how soon can I get out and play, or something like that. So, No, Vaishnava etiquette is all about how one can, shall I say, serve one another joyfully, or Vaishnava etiquette for all of us should actually mean how we can create an atmosphere where there is everlasting loving exchanges. Now, okay. Now, why does the big question? Why does this is discussed in the Ramayana? Why does Bharata pick up Shatrughna? Or why does he want to go to Kaikeya province at all? So it is mentioned in the Ramayana that Bharata is, by the way, is very attached to Lord Rama. Very, very attached to Lord Rama. But notwithstanding his attraction for Lord Rama, his affection for Lord Rama, but he decides that he wants to go to Yudhujit, his uncle wants to visit Yudhujit, Kaikeya province. That is Kaikeyi's brother. He wants to go there, his uncle basically. Now, why does he want to go? The big question is, why does Bharata want to go there, and why does he take Shatrughna when he goes there? Why does he want to separate himself from Rama, even though it's just for a temporary period of time? Why does he want to go there? Now, Ramayana explains that Yudhujit was very, very fond of Shatrughna, not Bharata. He was very fond of Shatrughna. He was exceptionally affectionate towards Shatrughna. So Bharata is thinking, if I go there, Shatrughna will receive so much attention, so much love, so much affection, so much pampering, so much, from the uncle. And in order to let Shatrughna experience or enjoy that attention, the pampering, that affection, that love that he will get from my uncle. See, the thing about Vaishnava etiquette and Vaishnava relationships, you don't see Bharata becoming envious, nor is Bharata questioning Yudhujita, why are you showing more affection? I am your nephew, not him. So why are you showing so much affection? No! In fact, Bharata is going to the extent of sacrificing his own, shall I say, separation. I mean, he is willing to tolerate or his separation from Lord Rama in order to see that Shatrughna gets that pampering and that love and that maternal love. That maybe that will please Shatrughna. So in order to see that Shatrughna gets that, he is willing to tolerate or endure that pain of separation from Lord Rama. So he takes Shatrughna there. So the act of Bharata going to his uncle's place or his mother's maternal place is an act of sacrifice, is an act of love, is an act of gratitude. Shatrughna has been taking care of me so nicely. He's almost like a shadow. He takes care of me in every possible way, just as Lakshmana takes care of Lord Rama. And so why not just let him bask in the affection that he gets from the maternal family or whatever. So even the act of Lakshmana, or rather Bharata going, involves sacrifice. So you could say that Vaishnava etiquette, I mean I'm speaking about general principles, but we shouldn't miss the whole picture. Or shall I say, what's the spirit behind Vaishnava etiquette? The spirit behind Vaishnava etiquette is, can we build a society where there is what is the word I said? Everlasting community where devotees are having loving exchanges. A community of devotees where there's so much giving, caring and loving. A community of devotees where there's so much empathizing. A community of devotees where there's so much sacrifice in order to please one another. Bharata was willing to endure that pain in order to please Shatrughna. And Shatrughna is a person who is servant of Bharata, and as by virtue of being the servant of Bharata, he has no choice, in the sense that he never exercises his choice or discretion. He says, whatever you decide. He goes and tells Bharata, whatever you decide, I'll just follow you. I'm yours. Just as he picked up, I mentioned to you, Ramayana just mentions this. Just as he picked up different things and packed, he just picked up Shatrughna. As if he was some inanimate object. And like I said, maybe he didn't zip him up into a bag, but otherwise he just took Shatrughna along with him when he went to Kaikeya. So at the heart of Vaishnava etiquette, See, Vaishnava etiquette can be broken down into different things that I am saying, principles and practices, etc., etc. But we should not forget that the purpose of following Vaishnava etiquette is to facilitate or create a community where there is
Loving exchange.
what is the right word? I mentioned something. Ever enduring or everlasting, or shall I say ever expanding community of devotees where there's loving exchanges between one another. So we should never forget that principle between that principle or shall I say that goal. That is the goal. It's not that, it's Sanatana Goswami also mentions, Lord Chaitanya also mentions that, it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Vaishnava etiquette is not about, it's mentioned that you could follow all the rules, all the principles, etc. But if you don't understand the purpose for which these rules are being made, then you're missing the whole point. Then it's not quite really sweet exchanges are not there. Then what's the whole point? The whole point is about building communities where there will be loving exchanges. Any questions?
This loving exchanges is only for like peers or between seniors and juniors?
Well, you see, Lord Chaitanya is showing love for everybody. He's showing love for Sanatana Goswami. He showed his affection to Rupa Goswami. He showed his affection, love to the other associates that he had. He showed unconditional love to all the fallen citizens of this material world and going and giving to them bhakti, etc. So, it's just that the flavor of that love will be a little different. Or shall I say, in the sense that the parents have one type of affection, have one type of a loving exchange with their children, but among themselves when they all meet, people of the same age group or etc. So, their loving exchanges, or shall I say, affectionate, respectful exchanges, take a little different form. But the principle, or shall I say the goal, is to create communities. Communities where people are willing to sacrifice for one another, care for one another, empathize for one another, support one another joyfully, and see, all this means that they are also tolerating one another. So all this means, yes, Mataji?
But you said community building requires mutual reciprocation between the people.
Yes, Mataji.
Sometimes you don't get that. But we understand it's very important that we have to cooperate with each other and have loving relationship. But there is no exchange of that. What should be our move in that kind of situation?
Okay, you're saying that sometimes...
Prabhuji,
yeah?
sorry, but I just had a very similar in that connection itself. Similarly, like scriptures have like unlimited meanings, and especially people also have a different nature. Some are very Brahmanatva, some are very Kshatriya, and accordingly. So different people would want to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their own way. And sometimes when the ideology doesn't match, or sometimes like as Madhuri said, there is no reciprocation, and apart from that, when there is some sort of soreness from one party, so in that moment cooperation also again becomes, forget about the acceptance, but even mere cooperation with the other person also becomes really hard if there is a soreness from other side. So,
see, I'll just give you a little hint now, but I'm covering that a little later, but I'll just give you a little hint. The point is that See, ultimately, the overriding principle is what would please my Guru. I'll give you an example. What would please my Guru? My Guru would say, compared to what all of us are undergoing, can you imagine what Prabhupada went through the first few years of his life in America, and maybe 10, 12 years that he spent here actively trying to go to America and start preaching mission. How much he tried, how much he endeavored, how much he struggled, but he didn't get any reciprocation, nor was anybody recognizing him, nor was anybody even respecting him, but he just kind of went on and on and on. And we see that the first 2 years of his stay in America, 1965 all the way up to, let's say, end of 1966. 66, of course, when so many American boys and girls started joining him. But that was one huge test of his endurance. Okay. Now, we have to see what is ultimately the question is, what is pleasing to my Guru? And we just have to go on. I'll give you an example. Again, I'll pick up a small story from the Ramayana. So in the Ramayana it is mentioned that when Bharata came back and he heard what happened, Bharata came back from Kaikeya province and he heard what happened. And he understood what role his mother played in this whole intrigue and then how Rama had to be banished to the forest. So Bharata wanted to disown his mother. I mean, disown. There's something called disowning the mother in Vedic system. I honestly don't know how they would do that. But they disown. They say, I'm no longer your son. You can't call me your son anymore. So something like that he wanted to do. And then it is said that in a conversation that he has with Shatrughna, he says, I can't do that. Because I think that would displease Lord Rama. So, I mean, look at the situation there. Here is a person who was responsible for, in one sense, externally speaking, was responsible for Lord Rama having to be banished to the forest. And here's Bharata wanting to disown his mother, but he stops short of doing it because he says, no, I don't think this would be approved by Lord Rama, nor would be pleasing, nor would he okay. So, compared to that, I mean, I understand that sometimes we get frustrated, especially those who take responsibilities in preaching. This is a constant dilemma and reality they have to face. That how much we plan, how much we think, how much we sacrifice for the largest for the benefit of the society. I mean, Vaishnav community at large. But I don't see anybody stopping back and patting me on the shoulder saying, hey, end of the day, I don't know if I would have been able to do these kind of sacrifices that you and your husband have done. I really mean it, I'm grateful to you. Nobody ever stops by and says that. Or something like that. We get these delicate questions in our mind. But what can we do? We just have to carry on thinking that what is pleasing to do, what is pleasing to. So that is the time when Bharata and Shatrughna meet Manthara, that evil lady who poisoned Kaikeyi. So Shatrughna is about to behead her or kill her or whatever. And Bharata stops him and says, don't do that, don't ever do that. I would have done it. I'm angry enough that I would have done it myself. I wouldn't have given you a chance to do that. But I don't think this would please Lord Rama at all. He wouldn't want any woman to be disrespected under any circumstances. So can't do that. We just can't do that. Now in the same manner, this is the sacrifice of the preachers. This is the sacrifice of the leaders. If you ask me who will notice, I'll say without fail, Lord Chaitanya will notice. Without any doubt, you can be sure Lord Chaitanya is noticing. He's making notes. Who is sacrificing what? Who is doing what? How much they are doing. Like that. You shouldn't have any doubts. Any other question before we move on? Okay, so I was speaking about the chanting of the mantra, achieving perfection and achieving purification and achieving perfection by way of chanting and preparing oneself for initiation. So preparing oneself for initiation is a very important step that it's like I said, it is irreversible, and it's we are offering ourselves at the lotus feet of our Guru Parampara, Krishna, saying that here afterwards, I belong to you, I am yours. And like it said, Lord Chaitanya said, one should be convinced about the exalted position of the spiritual master. I'm fully convinced. And I want to serve you, I want to be under your lotus feet, and please take me to Krishna. Or whatever, I mean, even that, maybe disciples don't ask. I'm under you, you do with me whatever you please, because I know that you will engage me in the service of the Guru Parampara, you will engage me in the service of Lord Chaitanya. And that's all I want. That's all I want. And I also understand that you are a bona fide representative of the Guru Parampara and Lord Chaitanya. I will be happy even if you engage me in your service. That's also fine. I don't have any preconditions. I'm not saying you should do this to me and not that to me. Whatever you say, in whatever manner you engage me. So when one is mentally prepared for that, then we accept initiation. That's when he accepts initiation. That is the real meaning of initiation. Okay, so we finished chanting mantra, initiation, achieving purification and achieving perfection. Now, the other point about Vaishnav etiquette that Lord Chaitanya surprisingly emphasizes is cleanliness. Lord Chaitanya also speaks about internal cleanliness, external cleanliness. Now, can someone tell me what cleanliness means?
Keeping our surroundings clean externally, wherever we are.
Yes? Good.
And cleansing internally through chanting.
Yes, correct.
Internal cleanliness means being chaste and sincere too.
Yes, correct. Being chaste and sincere. Any other meaning to the word cleanliness?
Following the four regulations.
Yeah. Following four regulated principles carefully.
Organized.
Being organized, yes, very nice.
Peaceful environment.
Yeah, that's also true. Being careful about the environment. Lord Chaitanya also emphasizes that if one is a brahmachari, the different aspects about cleanliness are there. Sannyasis, they have a much higher standard of cleanliness. Grasthas have a particular standard of cleanliness that they are expected to follow. So basically, see, cleanliness is important because that's one way of showing respect. One way of showing how much I respect the person who's coming into my house as a guest, as a visitor. So if I have ugly piles of clothes all over the place and footwear everywhere, and things strewn all over the place, it means I don't care so much about who's coming. So cleanliness at the end of the day is also important because it is an indication of how much importance we are paying to the person who's walked into our house, our life, or whatever. We are meeting him, we are hosting him, etc. So cleanliness is very important because if we keep the place untidily, it's as good as indicating disrespect to the guest who comes. As good as indicating disrespect. So it's extremely important that everything is neat, clean, tidy, and we also dress up and be neat, clean, tidy, and present ourselves very carefully, very respectfully to the guests who are coming. So that is also, so you can think, why is it so important? But it's important because that's how you receive somebody in your life. That's Hare Krishna. That's how we receive somebody. That is how we take care of anybody, any Vaishnava who is coming into our house. That's the only way we take care of them, respectfully, with cleanliness. Any other comment about cleanliness?
I think it makes one comfortable to walk into a house like that.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And so, generally the general trend is you tend to make a lot of, shall I say, spontaneous judgments about people who tend to be very, very untidy and unclean. So it's important to be very clean and very neat in every aspect. But of course, Lord Chaitanya also emphasizes on internal cleanliness. Internal cleanliness means, like you all mentioned, being chaste, being etc., being careful in our conduct, etc. Okay? Now, the other point Lord Chaitanya is mentioning is, like I mentioned before, we should not, follow the rules and miss the whole purpose of the rules. Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing the purpose of the rules is to remember Krishna. Remember that whenever we say that in a Gaudiya Vaishnava context, whenever we say that we have to remember Krishna, what we actually mean is that we should remember that we are servants of Krishna. We are servants of Krishna. Whenever it is said that we have to remember Krishna, it has to be understood that we have to remember that we are servants of Krishna. We are not colleagues of Krishna. Not at this stage, we don't think like that. We have to remember that we are servants of Krishna. We serve Krishna according to the instructions of our Guru. We are servants meant to be serving Krishna according to the instructions of our Guru. So, Lord Chaitanya says that please be careful that it's not that we forget about the we remember the rules but not the goal, not the purpose of the rules. And then Lord Chaitanya again mentions about unconditional service to the spiritual master. Once again emphasizes that we should be engaged in the service of the spiritual master. Now, I want to ask the children, how do we serve the spiritual master?
By following what he says.
Yes, very nice.
Being obedient.
Yes, very nice.
Charitable.
Huh?
Trustful.
Trustful.
Yes, being trustworthy. Is that what he said?
Yes.
Then?
By doing whatever we can in our capacity to please him.
I have a problem here. By doing whatever my spiritual master wants me to do according to my capacity. Is that okay? Is there a difference between the two?
Yes.
Is there a difference? By doing whatever I can to the best of my capacity, as against by doing whatever my spiritual master, my Guru wants me to do according to the best of my capacity. So serving the spiritual master means always verifying with the spiritual master, asking him, checking with him, and doing what he wants us to do to the best of our capacity. To the best of our capacity. So it's mentioned, Prabhupada also mentioned, that a disciple is a person who comes and stands in front of the Guru and says, okay, I'll give you that example again. So when Lord Rama accompanied Vishwamitra into the forest, it's such a perfect example of Vaishnava behavior, Vaishnava desire to serve. But it is said that every day in the morning, Lakshmana and Rama would go into the forest, would go into the river, take a bath, finish their morning duties, come in front of Vishwamitra, pay obeisances to him, go around, circumambulate him 3 times. Valmiki Ramayana explains this. Pay obeisances and says, we are Ram, Lakshman, children of Dasharatha, being present here before you. My dear Lord, Vishwamitra, please command what is the duty you want us to. What is your command for today? And we are ready to execute it. What is your command for today? We are ready to execute. So, that's how. I mean, if you ask me why is it important to follow Vaishnav etiquette or Vaishnava, whatever, respect, and even Lord Rama did that. Lord Chaitanya did that. So he stood there in front of Vishwamitra, and then Vishwamitra would become so pleased to see these 2 young, lion-like Kshatriyas, standing in front of him, very humbly, very respectfully, offering prayers to him, going around him, paying obeisances to him, and standing there and saying, please command me, and I will do what you say. We are there at your command. Please command us. What is your instruction for today? So it said that Vishwamitra became very, very pleased at this attitude of Ram and Lakshman, and he said that So along the way, wherever he went, he would stop by and tell stories to Lord Rama and Lord Lakshmana. So this is this ashram, that ashram, and then finally takes them to that place where he was performing homas, yagyas and homas, and requests Lord Rama for protection. But it's very strange. Why is it very strange? Because all the astras that were given to Vishwamitra, which were given by Vishwamitra to Lord Rama already knew. Because by all astras were originally created in one sense by the Lord himself, but Vishwamitra with great deal of affection and shall I say, exercising his authority as the guru, spiritual master, instructs Lama on how to use each one of these astras. And when it has to be used, what are the mantras to invoke each of these astras? Ramayana says that the astras would manifest in front of Lord Rama and they would all be smiling because it appeared like Vishwamitra is teaching Lord Rama, and Lord Rama would just silently command them, saying, "All right, I will call you when I need you. But please now cooperate. He's teaching me, I should act like a student." So this is also an example of loving exchanges between a guru and disciple. Here Lord Rama playing the role of a disciple, of a student, and Vishwamitra playing the role of a master. So basically, no matter, even though it is the Lord himself, but in terms of Varnashrama hierarchy, Guru is up there and the Kshatriyas down below. So when Vishwamitra instructed him, Lord Rama received. But Rama didn't know that he's God, Supreme Personality of God, right? In that avatar. Does he know or is it? Yeah. Rama is always aware. Always aware. There's never a point of time when the Lord forgets that or not aware that he's God. No. He acts. He acts as the Maryada Purushottama. But he acts. There's no such thing as Lord Rama not being aware. Or for that matter, any incarnation of the Lord.
But at the same
not being
time,
aware.
at the same time, even Vishwamitra also knows, right? That Rama is a
Supreme Lord.
Well, you could say yes. But something got over Vishwamitra and took charge of his mind and decided to play the role of a strict guru, teacher. Now you come, sit here, I will teach you how to use all these astras. Something took over him. And Lord Rama, very obediently, like a very good student, cooperated with that mood of Vishwamitra. That's called loving exchange.
That is to teach us.
Absolutely.
To teach us how to be a student and how to be a guru.
Absolutely. So Lord Rama learns from Vishwamitra how to use these astras. And then, like that, see, basically the Vedic literature is full of examples of how the Lord upholds the position of the Guru. Upholds, places it so high. So that again, like you Praveen said, that's how we define the boundaries of our life. The boundaries of our life are defined by these kind of examples. Yeah. Guru is everything for us. Be patient. Guru will tell you what to do. Guru will guide you. Guru will help you. Guru will take you to Krishna. Guru will correct you. Guru will forgive you also. And there are times when, in Kali Yuga, most of the time that's the thing we want. because we overstep the boundaries of our limits or regulations, whatever they may be. And Guru is there to forgive you also. And so, like I said, the purpose behind understanding Vaishnava etiquette is to create a community where everybody is wanting to do their share of giving, not count how much they have received. That's not the mood again. Do our share of giving, or shall we say, exceed our share, because ultimately Vaishnava can go on giving, go on giving unconditionally till everything that he has already given. That's a true Vaishnava. A Vaishnava will not stop and think, what's there for me? Is something left for me? No, he will give everything. He will give, joyfully he will give, because the chance to serve a Vaishnava, another Vaishnava, by giving him something doesn't come too often. The chance to give to a Vaishnava doesn't come too often. So one grabs it when one gets it. One grabs it when one gets it. Alright, so we finished the first 3. Now we have done 3 more. Can the children tell me what are the next 3 that we did? What are the first 3 that we did? Accepting spiritual master. Understanding the characteristics of a spiritual master and the disciple. Third.
Awareness about the position of the Guru.
To be convinced about the exalted position of the spiritual master. Alright? We did a few more after that. These are direct instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami. Can the children remember a few points?
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness. Why is cleanliness so important?
Respect.
Sign of respect.
Ultimately, see, cleanliness is important because it's a sign of respect. To the people that you're living with, to the people who walk into your house. I mean, you should tell yourself somebody may walk in at any point of time, any moment. So everything should be clean and neat. If they were to come, what would they feel? So, ultimately, cleanliness is an indication of respect that you have. And also, cleanliness is, if you were to take it a little higher, cleanliness has, because everything that you have has been given to you by whom? According to our philosophy. Children, who gives us what we have? Huh? So everything belongs to Krishna. Everything that we have, including our time, intelligence, our body, our faculties, everything is given to us by Krishna. So, ultimately, how would you take care of what Krishna is giving you? How would you take care? Tell me.
By utilizing it in the service of
Yeah. Keeping it cleanly, respectfully, thanking Krishna for what you've got.
Yeah.
Thanking Krishna for what you've got and children.
Discipline.
We are in trouble.
Cleanliness.
Yes. So, being grateful to what you've got from Krishna and utilizing it in Krishna's service, Guru and Krishna's service. Utilizing everything that you've got in Guru and Krishna's service. Alright? So, any other point that we discussed? We spoke about cleanliness. We spoke about
Discipline.
qualification to receive the mantra and the practice of chanting the mantra. That is understanding the meaning of initiation. I'm not spending too much time on that because that's not really the topic today. We are talking about Vaishnav etiquette and then
Preparing for initiation.
preparing for initiation and remembering the Lord. We should not forget the actual goal, purpose, and getting lost in rules and rituals and forgetting the purpose for which all this is being done. We want to remember that we are servants. And then I also mentioned that remembering Krishna means how does a Gaudiya Vaishnava remember? Servants.
Dasa.
I remember that I am a servant of Krishna. Alright, shall we proceed? Now, the Lord Chaitanya also instructs Sanatana Goswami in terms of Vaishnava etiquette and says that please teach people how to worship the deity form of the Lord, how to distinguish what is a salagram and how to worship the salagram form of the Lord. Deity form of the Lord, salagram, and how to worship the deity form of the Lord. Because that's an important element, that's an important way in which we demonstrate our etiquette, or rather etiquette. I mean, there's something called etiquette towards Guru, etiquette towards Vaishnava, etiquette towards parent, etiquette towards, then also etiquette towards the deity form of the Lord. So, Lord Chaitanya is telling Sanatana Goswami, you also write about what is the etiquette in terms of, or shall I say, how, in what mood should we. I'm not spending so much time in understanding the exact rules and regulations, that's a different kind of a discussion, but today we're trying to understand what is the principle behind. Why is the Lord saying, what does the Lord mean when He says etiquette of worship of the deities, worship of salagram? What is Lord Chaitanya wanting to achieve there? Why is he saying etiquette?
The deity form is none other than Krishna.
None other than Krishna. Very nice. So, we have to be very careful. What else?
Krishna will become the center of all your activities.
That's right. See, the etiquette is that we are engaged in the service of Krishna according to the instructions of one's Guru. So, we demonstrating two things. Our willingness to serve Krishna according to instructions of our Guru. So, actually we are integrating everything ultimately. Ultimate integration is serving Krishna according to instructions of one's Guru. So, we have to show our willingness to do that. Our willingness to do. That's an important element of a Vaishnava's life. A Vaishnava's life is measured in terms of his willingness. Or shall I say the maturity of a Vaishnava is measured in terms of his willingness to worship the Lord according to the instructions of his Guru. How willing is he? How enthusiastic is he? How willing is he to worship and continue to worship and be engaged all the time in the worship as per the instructions of his Guru. So, Vaishnava etiquette also means one has to constantly demonstrate one's willingness to change every aspect of our life according to the instructions of our Guru. The Guru says offer 3 times a day, you offer. The Guru may tell somebody once a day is enough for you, once a day is enough for me. He may say 5 times a day you please offer, 5 times a day. So that your loving exchange with your Guru is the loving exchange with Guru is done by the instrument of obedience. You understand what I am saying? You show your love to your Guru by offering glorification, by showing gratitude, by showing obedience, by showing submissiveness, by showing eagerness to follow the instructions. So how do we show our love to Guru?
By taking every word that he says very seriously.
Yes. Can the Matajis try? How does one show one's affection for Guru?
Following his instruction.
Yes. I just mentioned following the instructions, serving
Serving the Lord.
serving the Lord. Actually, willingness to change every aspect of our life in terms of the instructions of Guru. Unconditionally, we would like to demonstrate to our Guru our willingness to change any and every aspect of our life according to his instructions. Any and every aspect of our life according to the instructions of our Guru. Vishwamitra told Lord Rama, kill Tataka. Tataka is a woman. And there's a law forbidding the Kshatriyas from killing women. So Lord Rama is hesitating. Then Vishwamitra understands the predicament of Lord Rama. Then Lord Rama very respectfully submits to Vishwamitra. And he says, if it's okay with you, if it is alright with you, can I suggest something? Vishwamitra says, yeah, sure. Without any hesitation, go ahead, Rama. Tell me what's in your mind. And Lord Rama says, can I just chop off her 2 arms, chop off her legs, and that way, I don't kill her, but then she becomes ineffective. She can't cause any trouble to you anymore. Can I do that? Would that be okay? Because your problem is, she's causing disturbance when you perform these homas and yagyas and fire sacrifices for the larger good of the mankind. Now, can I decapacitate her, or shall I incapacitate her? Sorry, not decapacitate. Incapacitate her by chopping off her arms, chopping off her legs, and so she can't do any harm anymore. Then Vishwamitra will listen to this plea by Lord Rama. It's a very sweet conversation. It's not that we can't ask any question to our Guru, but there's an etiquette, there's a proper way of doing it, just as Lord Rama demonstrated in his questioning of Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra will say, my dear Lord Rama, I understand your predicament, I understand your hesitation. I also know that there is a law which prohibits Kshatriyas from killing women. But you know something? This Tataka, going by what she is doing now, disrupting homas and yajnas and disrupting and disturbing and damaging and causing distractions and diversions of all this and then destroying and all that stuff. Going by what she's doing, she has lost the qualification to be called a woman. You know what I mean? By virtue of what she has done, she can no longer be called a woman. She can be called a criminal. So this is not a case where a kshatriya is killing a woman. This is a case where a kshatriya is punishing the miscreant or the culprit. So you please go ahead and follow my command. And by the way, even if there amounts to be some improper, shall I say, practice or something, the karma will end up with me and not with you. Because your duty is to follow my instructions. I'm the Brahmana, I'm the Guru, and you're the Kshatriya, you're my, do what you say. Then Lord Rama will bend down to Vishwamitra and say, thank you my dear Lord for clarifying, and then he will do what Vishwamitra commands and he will kill Tataka. He will kill Tataka. So, Vaishnava etiquette is not just about unconditional, shall I say, what's the right word?
Blindly?
Yes, that's the word. Imitation or blind following. No! The fact that there's a way in which you can put your point to your Guru makes that whole relationship very lively and sweeter. Vishwamitra becomes very pleased with Lord Rama. He says, sir, you did ask a question, you raised an objection, but you did it in such a graceful, sweet manner that my affection for you, my love for you is only increased because of this question and the manner in which you asked this question has only increased, Lord Rama. So now I will bless you. Like that. I mean, so the manner in which one asks also increases the sweetness of the relationship. So that's when, so it's not that we're all a group of, shall I say, who switch off their intelligence and discretion and this and that and just blindly follow. No. The fact that we can discuss with one another, the fact that we can place our submissions at the lotus feet of fellow Vaishnavas for their consideration. A little later, after a short break, break at 7. So after a short break, then I'll show you how Lord Chaitanya himself conducts himself in the assembly of Vaishnavas, which is also to me another very glorious example of implementing the principles of Vaishnava etiquette. So that's the way it is. So spiritual master. So we come back to the other two principles. Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing how to take care of the deities and how to take care of Sadhakram. Alright, so what does one learn through deity worship? Who would like to answer?
Establish that connect.
Yeah, Prabhu. What does one learn through deity worship?
We see personal form of the Lord, so we learn to serve Him as a person.
Yes.
We learn more information about Krishna,
Yes, very nice.
which are not told easily publicly.
Yes, nice. Yes, Prabhu.
We learn to be regulated in our daily
One of the things we end up learning in deity worship is discipline and regulation. Because deity worship is doing the same thing at the same time, day after day after day. Deity worship involves periodicity, doing the same thing at the same time, repeatedly. So by doing deity worship, we pick up elements of discipline. Actually, again, we surrender to a higher principle. We don't go by our mind, we go by what is pleasing to Guru and Krishna. We set aside our preferences, our tastes, etc. and we do what is pleasing to Krishna. So that's also one more aspect. That's why Vaishnava etiquette, if we do deity worship, then our mind becomes very softer, gentler, because we learn how to set aside our personal interests and whatever, personal interests and personal passion, etc. We set aside and take the principles of worship of Guru as more sacrosanct.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Especially when Guru is so far and when there is no connect, and sometimes some Gurus have few thousand disciples. Sometimes you can't see your Guru for 4 or 5 years and kind of things. In that situation, how does that love and reciprocation, the dialogue, how does that develop, Prabhuji, especially in today's situation when we are seeing, like in Valmiki situation or in Rama situation, there is a daily dialogue, they are talking, seeing each other, serving. But in today's world, when Guru is so far and there is no direct dialogue, there is no direct conversation, it's all listening to YouTube videos or something. How does that love and respect gets developed? How is that? Is always puzzles me, that question.
Yeah, good question. Did everybody hear the question? Should I repeat it?
Please repeat it.
So his question is, how does one strengthen, deepen one's relationship with one's guru under the present scenario, considering that sometimes the guru is physically elsewhere, maybe thousands of miles away. We don't get to see him very often. We have his darshan very rarely, and most of the time our darshan is restricted to seeing and hearing him speak on YouTube or something like that. How do I actually develop or deepen my relationship with my guru? So, Srila Prabhupada used to say that maybe I met my guru a maximum of 10 times in my life. And those days when I met him, those times when I met him, maybe a couple of times, maybe 3 times, I had a chance to personally talk, or 3 or 4 times. I met him a maximum of 10 times in my life, maybe 3 or 4 times I got to talk to him. Someone told my guru about the poem that I wrote during my guru's Vyasa Puja, and they told me that my guru liked that poem a lot. I didn't meet him after that. I never got, because even the times when I was in his presence, he was always surrounded by his senior disciples, sannyasi disciples, senior disciples. Because at that point of time, Prabhupada was a congregation member, outsider, running his own family, business, etc. And but whatever he said had such a deep impact on me, such a deep, profound impact on me that the rest of my life I dedicated to try and follow the instructions that he gave me, or the general instructions that he would give every time I met him. Or a couple of times Prabhupada was just in the audience and Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur would speak, and he would give lectures, and that's about all that I was just like one of the other people who would come and sit and hear. But then of course I made that very conscious effort to hear him, because there was a time when people said, when we went to Radhakund Parikrama, Vrindavan Parikrama, people came to me and said, why don't we go visiting, sightseeing? And at the same time there was a scheduled lecture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I chose to listen to the lecture and not go on Dham visit. I chose to stay back and listen to him. Similarly, there was a time when I was listening to a lecture and the person sitting next to me started talking to me. And I tried my best to avoid conversation, moving away, or indicating to him that I don't want to hear anything at all. When my guru is speaking, I want to be completely attentive to my guru. But he didn't listen to me. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur chastised the person who was trying to disturb Prabhupada and said, why are you doing this? You don't want to listen, you can leave, or something like that. He chastised. And I was so happy that my guru noticed that I was trying to hear him attentively and helping. So Prabhupada met his guru just about 10 times. So ultimately it depends on. And then of course there were people who met Prabhupada, who lived with Prabhupada, but some of them just couldn't sustain their spiritual life. I don't want to criticize or anything like that, but then fact of the matter is how deeply you take whatever little interactions you have with your guru into your heart, how much you're willing to. The life-changing moments come once in a while, they don't happen all the time. I fully agree with you that in the olden days, maybe a different format of Guru-Shishya relationship was there, when the Guru would stay in mats and ashrams and the disciples would stay around him in the mat and ashram, and they would live with each other and like that. But I don't know if that kind of a format will ever work in Kali Yuga. We can't send our kids, or nor can we go and live Of course, there was an attempt like that in Mayapur, in different ISKCON centers. This hasn't worked very well. So what we do is we hear our Guru, we hear about our Guru, we hear from our Guru, we hear, and then we, I mean, if you're very, very perseverant, there'll always be some channel Krishna will open up for you so you can get some Guru's instructions. I've seen many people who have very perseverantly tried and then they've succeeded in getting some instructions, asking their Guru to clarify on certain things. And see, ultimately, like Prabhupada used to say, what do you think, Guru is Guru, he's representative of Krishna, and we should look at him as nothing less than that. So, there's a price you have to pay if you want to meet Guru, you have to talk to him, etc. I have found from my experience, all I can say is from my experience I have found that anybody who goes out of the way and does sacrifices and is willing to take responsibility to run the institution, run the movement, take huge responsibilities to propagate, to sacrifices, takes challenges to help expand the movement, maintain the movement, run the movement, help the movement face challenges. Inevitably and invariably, the Guru will come looking for people like that. Like for example, it is mentioned that Lord Rama had billions of Vanaras going with him. Billions of Vanaras going with him when he raided, when he attacked Sri Lanka. Now it is said that Rama was definitely very concerned, loving, caring towards every one of them. There's no doubt, we should not doubt that at all. The Lord was very, very compassionate and caring towards everyone. But then if you read the Ramayana, Yuddha Kanda, you'll be so surprised to see that in different conversations that Lord Rama is having with, at times with Sugriva, at times with Lakshmana, Lord Rama is mentioning by name, he's taking their name and mentioning the names of Nala, Neela, Durmidha and Hanuman, Angada. There are a long list of names of all his commanders. And not just mentioning their name, but also specifying what each one of them was specialized in, what kind of fighting each one of them was specialized in, what each one of them was capable of doing. So the Lord takes notice. There were billions. We cannot say he didn't care for the others. That's not correct. He did. But here are those people who took that extra risk, extra pain, extra sacrifice, extra effort. See, ultimately, it is the sacrifice, it is the effort, it is the pain that you take, it is the responsibility you are willing to take. That is what is noticed, not just by Krishna, by the Guru Parampara, by all the Vaishnavas. How much are you willing to give? What are you willing to give? How much are you willing to give? Give up or give for Krishna, for Guru. I'm not saying, and it gets noticed. Lord Rama is speaking about them. He's speaking about them. And then there is a time when Vibhishana wanted to enter Lord Rama's army. So Lord Rama calls all his associates and asks them once in each one of them individually. There is Jambavan, there is Sugriva, there is Angada, there is Lakshmana, there is Hanuman, there is like that he asks each one of them. Nala and Neela, like that he asks each one of them, saying, tell me what you think, should we admit him or not? Because he considered their opinion as being important because they were taking the responsibility to, playing leadership and responsible role. In the same manner, those people who go out of the way and take responsibility to guide other Vaishnavas to the lotus feet of Guru Parampara, they are worshipped by the members of the Guru Parampara. The previous acharyas will worship them. Look at this person. He doesn't have to do it, but he's doing it because of his love, because of his compassion, because of his of his intense desire to please Guru, Krishna and the previous acharyas, he's doing so much. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, but he's doing. He's taking risk. And then it is said that Lord Rama would not only notice all that they did, and Lord Rama would stand by and congratulate them when they would achieve some extraordinary victory and come back. They would all come back and report to Lord Rama saying, somebody killed Kumbhakarna, somebody killed Kumbha Nikumba, the two sons of Kumbhakarna, someone killed Aikya, long list of Prahasta, someone killed this, someone killed Mahadwara, some different great generals of the Ravana's army. One by one, different people killed, and then they would all come back, and Lord Rama would notice that. So ultimately, it is how determined you are, how much you are willing to sacrifice, how much one is willing to sacrifice. And all members of the Guru Parampara will take note of that. Look at this person. Prabhupada mentions that, how many times he has mentioned? Bhaktivinoda Thakura will come back and take you back home, back to Godhead, or something like that, to those who will help him build the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, or something like that. So ultimately, it is how much we are willing to sacrifice for that little bit of extra mercy that you want. And everyone should want more mercy from Guru Parampara. Good question. Any questions? Any more questions? Very nice point. I don't know if I satisfactorily answered.
Thank you.
Yes, bro.
Just adding to Prabhuji's question, correction part of the Guru, we might follow the instruction, but in Prabhupada's case, there were so many times where while following the instruction also, the disciples were corrected, right? So, in our devotional service, who is going to correct us in this way? From the Guru, if the correction does not come, we might proceed in a certain direction for years. So, how will it happen?
Yeah, good question. How does one get corrected in one's practice or spiritual life? See, I mentioned what was Sanatana Goswami's mood. Anybody? Again, I'll go back to the children. When Lord Chaitanya wanted to instruct Sanatana Goswami, what did Sanatana Goswami say? Right at the beginning of the conversation. Huh? I'm not qualified. I'm full of faults. I'm so fallen. I'm not qualified. I can't be writing a book like this. I don't have any qualification to write a book like this. But however, if you bless me and you take over my intelligence, my this, engage me as an instrument, maybe what you desire will happen. And what did Lord Chaitanya reply? You have such as humility, gentleness, submissiveness, faith, obedience, surrender, and whatever you do will manifest properly because you have won the grace of Krishna. So in a similar manner. See, the problem is not that there is nobody who is willing to correct us. The problem is very often our unwillingness to take correction. Unwillingness to take correction. If we are willing to take correction, then we can learn from just about anybody, and the Lord will mercifully, through friends, associates, Shiksha Guru, Paramatma, etc., the correction will come. And also, when we live in the association of Vaishnavas, they will lovingly help one another. Help one another become a better devotee. Sometimes the Guru entrusts this responsibility to his other senior disciples. He says, you take care of these devotees in this place, in that place, like that. So the Guru encourages, entrusts, calls upon other senior devotees and gives them that responsibility. So which is why it is mentioned that another principle of Vaishnava etiquette, one compulsory mandatory principle of Vaishnava etiquette is a devotee should always be under some other authority. Compulsory principle of Vaishnava etiquette is a devotee a person who wants to be called as a devotee, a genuine, serious devotee, should be under the supervision of another senior devotee. That means he is willing to be corrected. He understands that if he works too much independently, he may get misled or misdirected by his own mind or his own prejudices, etc. So a devotee is always conscious, always conscious, always willing, or shall I say, a devotee feels very unsafe if he is not under the shelter of another Vaishnava. And very often in ISKCON setup, sometimes the temple president, sometimes some Shiksha, somebody else, but we should always be under somebody's loving care and shelter. And that we can choose. I mean, we have to choose carefully, not that we choose somebody who will not have either the courage or the maturity to tell us where we are going wrong, or where there's this relationship of obligation or something like that. We have to choose carefully. We have to choose honestly and carefully. And then the correction will come. And of course, Lord Chaitanya also mentions here in Vaishnav Etiquette that our purification gets accelerated by the way we chant Hare Krishna mantra. Because Hare Krishna mantra by itself is capable of doing so much more than we can imagine, including some kind of purification that is required for us. Alright, I'll just quickly go through a few more points and then we'll take a short break, and then after that I want to come back and speak to you about a particular pastime of Lord Chaitanya that again illustrates principles of Vaishnava etiquette. So, another principle of Vaishnava etiquette that Lord Chaitanya asked Sanatana Goswami to write about is Dham Yatra. So Dham Yatra means visiting places connected with where Lord executed his pastimes. So one should visit places, and why should we do so? And why should we do so?
To relish the pastime and develop the love for God.
Alright, relish the pastimes of the Lord.
You will know more about the Lord and you will develop more bhakti.
Yes. You will know more about the Lord, and chances are you will develop more bhakti.
Lord is more merciful there.
The Lord tends to be more merciful in places where yatra happens, where he performs pastimes.
We should establish a connection when we hear the pastimes and see the place.
Okay, you establish a connection because you heard the pastime, you are also seeing the place where the Lord performed those pastimes. So you are seeing the place where the Lord performed those pastimes.
Lord performs his pastimes and Dharma is a place where it attracts everybody.
Yeah, okay. So there is some kind of attraction that is built, or shall I say, some kind of attraction that will grow when we go to places where the Lord performs his Leela.
There are many devotees who had visited earlier to get their blessings as well.
That is also a very, very important point. There are many devotees who visited this place earlier, and probably there are many devotees who are residing there, and you get to have darshan of their lotus feet, get dust of their lotus feet, and hear from them. And hear from them. So that's also an important point, where you get to hear from them. Actually, Lord Chaitanya says that everything connected with Krishna is precious. His name, his holy name, his vigraha form, his places where he performed pastimes, and places where his devotees reside, places where his intimate or loving devotees reside. Everything has the potency to purify one's heart. Everything has the potency to purify one's heart. Especially Lord Chaitanya mentioned that for a disciple, the place where his guru appeared and performed different activities, that is also very important. A place where his guru appeared and performed activities is also important. So Lord Chaitanya says that. Now, the other thing Lord Chaitanya says to Sanatana Goswami is, you please speak about why we should glorify the holy name and how we should give up all offenses against the chanting of the holy name. And then again Lord Chaitanya also mentions that one should teach people how to nullify and avoid seva aparadha. What is seva aparadha? What is seva aparadha? Yes?
Offense to service.
Offenses, typically the word seva aparadha is used when we by that we refer to offenses in serving the deities, deity form of the Lord. That's typically we use that phrase seva aparadha when we refer to small mistakes that we tend to commit while serving the deity form of the Lord. Now, why is Lord Chaitanya saying one should be very careful about it? To avoid and to nullify seva aparadha. Why? Why is Lord Chaitanya saying that?
You can progress faster that way.
Yes, we can progress faster without these offenses. Then,
It acts as a speed breaker.
pardon me?
It acts as a speed breaker. It's a direct.
Yes, it acts as a speed breaker. That's right. Then what else could happen?
As Prabhupada mentions in 10 offenses, we achieve the Krishna prema.
Okay, if you avoid offenses, we could get Krishna prema. Why else? Why else is Lord Chaitanya saying even small offenses? Avoid. If you do them, nullify. Even small offenses, nullify them. Why is Lord Chaitanya emphasizing?
Because it's Lord Krishna himself in the form of Archana. So
Yes.
direct offense to Krishna.
It would be direct offense to Krishna. Yes.
It's also a reflection of our way of serving, basically. If you're making
Yes, it is a reflection of our way of serving.
Our seriousness.
Seriousness is genuineness, seriousness. Any other point?
Bhakti doesn't progress.
Bhakti doesn't progress if you commit offenses. Anything else? Why is Lord Chaitanya saying even smallest of small offenses, learn to avoid, learn to nullify? Yes?
We might offend Vaishnavas.
You're there. He got it. He got it. By neglecting even small offenses, by not nullifying, by not avoiding, there is a risk that maybe one day you may offend Vaishnava, a Vaishnava. May not be Vaishnavas, a Vaishnava, a single Vaishnava also. And that could be very disastrous to one's spiritual life. A Vaishnava, an offense to a Vaishnava, single aparadh to a Vaishnava, that could be very disastrous to our spiritual life. So, the moment somebody points out saying this is a seva aparadh, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Correct. Correct then.
Ask for forgiveness.
Ask for forgiveness. My dear Lord, my dear Guru, Vaishnavas, Guru Parampara, everybody, whomever you can think of, who might take offense, please forgive me. By nature I am fallen, I am unqualified, I am to this, I am lustful, I am this, that. Somehow by your mercy I have got this chance to serve you, though I am not qualified or capable. The only thing I know is how to make offenses very expertly. Please tolerate, please forgive me, please bless me so that I don't offend. I don't repeat these offenses. Please don't take this into account. Kindly forgive me. Because if it becomes a habit of not trying to avoid or nullify offenses, one day maybe, just maybe, we will offend some Vaishnava, and that would be disastrous. So Vaishnava etiquette means not avoiding even the smallest of offenses. Because that should become our nature. Our nature is to be conscious, conscientious, careful, respectful. Actually, Prabhupada mentions in one place, one should learn to be fearful of the Vaishnavas. We should be fearful. It's there, that quote is there. Fearful, saying that if I'm neglectful, maybe an offense will happen. So one should be fearful in our dealings with Vaishnavas and etc. Okay? And one should glorify the holy name and be careful that we give up all offenses against the chanting of the holy name. We should nullify and avoid seva aparadh. And then it is also mentioned, Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami, please understand the symptoms of a Vaishnava. In other words, recognize a Vaishnava as quickly as possible and learn to respect him. Understand how to recognize, how to see, how to find a Vaishnava, and understand the symptoms of a Vaishnava and learn to respect him. Lord Chaitanya also mentions, when you meet a Vaishnava, please learn to offer obeisances carefully. Offer prayers of glorification in your heart or whatever when you see a Vaishnava. And also, Lord Chaitanya is mentioned here, I don't know in what context, I didn't make a note of that. It's mentioned that offer prayers and perform circumambulation. I guess this means to the devotees, not to the devotees, to the deities. Perform circumambulation when you come in front of a deity. If you don't do that, it would amount to being a little disrespectful to the deity. Pay obeisances, offer prayers, offer glorification, and perform circumambulation. Circumambulation means we say parikrama. In Telugu, I don't know what they say. Pradakshina. Okay. Now, in addition to this, there's a next set of instructions that Lord Chaitanya gives. I'll just quickly go through them. It says taking only Krishna Prasad. If you take non-Krishna Prasad, it's some kind of a breach of Vaishnava etiquette. Because again, there's a fear that we may become attached to things not offered to Krishna. Now, why is it important that we take only Prasad?
We don't accumulate new sins.
Okay, we don't accumulate new sins.
Improve our consciousness.
Improve our consciousness.
New impressions we get.
New impressions we get when we take prasadam. No, I mean non-offered food. Then, alright, that's a guaranteed way of getting mercy of Krishna when we take prasadam. Very nice.
Prabhuji, controlling tongue is the
Yes.
most difficult thing.
Controlling tongue is the most difficult thing when taking prasadam. Tongue gets controlled, then
Every day it's reminding ourselves that this is yours that I'm taking.
yes, every day remind ourselves that Krishna, whatever I am taking has been given by you. Okay, see, ultimately the point is a Vaishnava doesn't want to be the enjoyer. The first right to enjoy is that of Krishna or Guru. He only takes the remnants. He doesn't want to. It's not possible for a Vaishnava to want to enjoy something on his own. It has to be offered to Krishna, it has to be offered to Guru Parampara, it has to be offered to Gurus, it has to be offered in the service of the Guru, and then taken as remnants. Whatever is left behind, I will take. This is the mode of a Vaishnava. Remnants means I am giving it to you. Whatever remains, I will take. In the early days, people used to give so much, all the money they earned to Prabhupada. And they would say, Prabhupada, whatever you give me, I am happy with that. And Prabhupada would give them $100, something out of what he gets from them. And say, okay, now this is for you, you run your life with that. So, whatever is remnants, that means we offer everything that comes by to us, to Krishna, to Guru, in his service. Whatever that comes by to us in Guru's service, we offer it. And remnants, we take only the remnants. What the Guru gives back to us, we take. This was the vogue, in vogue even during Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura's time. Disciples would do business, go collect, offer everything to Bhakti Siddhanta, and Bhakti Siddhanta would give some money and say, alright, this is yours, now you run your family or whatever, like that. So the principle is, what we mean by saying the devotee accepts only prasadam is, whatever comes to him, what does the devotee do?
Accept it.
Offer it to his Guru and takes only remnants, what has come back from the Guru or what is given back to him by Krishna. A devotee will consider it as unacceptable to not offer to Guru or Krishna and take something on his own. So the principle behind accepting prasadam is whatever comes by, we offer to Guru and Krishna. Alright?
Okay, during that travel, we are not able to get prasadam, how we can handle the situation.
You see, when we are traveling long distance and we are not, Prabhupada said it's okay. Even that we take some puri sabji, curd rice, something like that. Prabhupada said even that we offer to Vishnu by purifying it 3 times by chanting Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. In our mind we say, under the circumstances, I cannot offer anything better than this. My Lord, please mercifully accept this. Please mercifully accept this. But the danger is it cannot become It's an exception. It can't become the rule. It can't become the rule. So taking Krishna Prasad, giving up unoffered food, and then Lord Chaitanya is speaking, one of the most powerful instructions, he said, don't indulge in blaspheming a devotee. And the very next instruction Lord Chaitanya is saying, stop, don't indulge in blaspheming a devotee. And the very next instruction Lord Chaitanya is saying, learn, teach people. He's telling Sanatana Goswami, teach people why it is so important to satisfy a devotee, please a devotee, and serve a devotee. No blasphemy, how to serve, how to please, how to be engaged in the service of a devotee. What Chaitanya is saying. So he's telling Sanatana Goswami, teach the people of the world how to appreciate a devotee, how to glorify a devotee, how not to blaspheme a devotee. Okay? Now,
whenever there is a mention of a devotee, is it Uttamadhikari or Kanya? Is that applicable to only to Uttamadhikari?
good question. The question is, does it mean that this principle that we glorify a devotee, appreciate a devotee applies only to the highest caliber of devotees, or does it mean it applies to devotees of all caliber?
Generally, it for all, because devotee by principle is, Vaishnava by principle is always like pure and eternal. But of course, different people have different levels of that Vaishnavite, like whatever is there.
Because especially neophyte people in their early path and kind of thing, they are still not purified and don't carry that anartha, so they're still there. That's why.
Good question. We'll take a short break. I'll answer after the break. Take a 5-minute break. Yeah.
Can we all settle down, please?
उपज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्. So, how to satisfy devotees? This little mother is going to try and satisfy that little baby. How to satisfy him? Giving up non-devotee association. That's a tough one, right? How to satisfy devotees? Giving up non-devotee association. And this is very sweet instruction. Regularly reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami, you please encourage people to read the Bhagavatam regularly. There's something very powerful, very mystically powerful about Srimad Bhagavatam. Make them read the Bhagavatam regularly. And it will work wonders. Make them read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, there are other things that Lord Chaitanya speaks to Sanatana Goswami. Make them, teach them how to observe the Ekadashi, etc., etc., etc. And as a general guiding principle, Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami saying, teach them how to be careful and attentive in all that they do. Why? They have to be careful and attentive so that they can try to see that unknowingly no offense is committed to a Vaishnava. Unknowingly, accidentally, no offense is committed to a Vaishnava. Okay. Now we'll come back. Where is Rao Garu? No, I don't know. I forgot his name. Okay, let him come. We'll answer his question. One should be very careful, attentive, diligent in every aspect of one's devotional life, lest there may be an offense. Actually, I'm not trying to scare you out. It's actually wonderful. If one has a simple heart saying, I'm a servant of Guru, servant of Krishna, and servant of all the Vaishnavas, he'll be very safe and well situated. Keep reminding yourself that I'm a servant of all the Vaishnavas. He'll eventually become very well situated. Alright? So that problem is we don't do that so much. So Lord Chaitanya says, generally you instruct people what is to be done and what is not to be done. He's telling Sanatana Goswami. And by the way, I forgot to mention that all these instructions of Lord Chaitanya that were given to Sanatana Goswami eventually came out in the form of a book called Hari Bhakti Vilas. So whatever I am speaking about is from the book, from the wonderful book called Hari Bhakti Vilas. Okay, now Lord Chaitanya also tells Sanatana Goswami, you explain the necessity for establishing Vaishnava temples and Vaishnava communities, and you also explain how they have to be built, in what manner they have to be built. Why Vaishnava temple? Because Vaishnava temple means there's a very good chance that the Vaishnava community will build around it. So there's a huge Vaishnava community building around it. And Lord Chaitanya also says, he tells Sanatana Goswami, you mention that whatever is done by way of building temples, by way of whatever is done in accordance to the Vedic scriptures. So that nobody speculates and comes up with his own way, his own formula, his own different ways of doing things. It has to be according to Vedic scriptures. So build temples, build communities, teach people how to build temples, how to install deities, how to take care of deities. Actually Hari Bhakti Vilasa also has detailed sections on how to perform various samskaras. Namakarana, this one, that one, Aksharabhyasa, etc. etc. Detailed explanations on how Vedic samskaras have to be performed. So that at all stages of your life, one is reminded that I am a servant of Krishna. This life is meant to be serving Krishna. And the best shelter in this world is the shelter of the Vaishnavas, Guru and Krishna. Lotus feet of Guru, Vaishnavas and Krishna. This is my place. What is my address? At the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna. Where you can find me? At the lotus feet of Guru, Krishna, Vaishnavas. What will you see me doing? Engage in the service of Vaishnavas and Krishna as per the instructions of my Guru. What is it that you never see me doing? What?
Offending a devotee.
Yes, offending a Vaishnava. What is it that you never see me doing? Offending a Vaishnava. You can never see me doing that. So, Sanatana Goswami was told by Lord Chaitanya, right? Encourage. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is telling Sanatana Goswami, create a whole new civilization. A whole new civilization built around temples. He said, teach people how to build temples. Built around temples, built on the whole, shall I say, guiding principles as given by Lord Chaitanya about Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava societies. Whole new civilization, whole new order, whole new varnashrama, whole new society. So you could see way back, 530 or 550 years back, Lord Chaitanya wanted these kind of things to happen. He already instructed Sanatana Goswami. Flood this world with devotee communities. So today, even now, devotees refer to Hari Bhakti Vilasa for guiding principles on how communities have to build, etc., etc., etc. Because these are direct instructions and these are written based on the inspiration and instructions of Lord Chaitanya. Okay? What is to be done and what is not to be done. So, Lord Chaitanya also says, you should be kind, merciful also, because at the end of the day, when you see that there are people who may not be so strictly following all the rules, we should still accept them as devotees because they chant the holy names of the Lord, directly or indirectly also. Even if they are indirectly chanting the names of the Lord, kindly accept them as devotees. Lord Chaitanya is telling, see, so that we don't become niyamagraha. That means, we don't become very stern and strict, and where we evaluate and judge everybody in terms of the rules. No, that would be a risky and dangerous. So he says, no, just understand that they are also devotees. Maybe they are not able to, or they are not in a position right now to follow all the rules and regulations in a very strict manner. And that is when Lord Chaitanya again refers to the famous Trunadapi Sunichena verse. He says that, see, my dear Sanatan, you are instructing all this, but by following these instructions, a Vaishnava should become like this. Like what? More humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. A Vaishnava should become like that. That is the goal. More tolerant than a tree, more humbler than a blade of grass. That can be repeatedly trampled and it will not protest. More tolerant than a tree because you can chop the tree, chop off the branches, the tree will not protest. And even the person who comes to chop, the tree will provide shelter, tree will provide flowers or whatever, shade, etc. So this is the quality. Lord Chaitanya is telling Sanatana Goswami, ultimately we should plan to create, Vaishnava should become people like this. People like this. And then Lord Chaitanya also comments and says that a Vaishnava, because he is chanting the holy name, because he is following the instructions of a Guru, because he is reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and because he is practicing all those other principles that I touched upon, Lord Chaitanya is saying that a Vaishnava is strong. He is very strong. Don't worry. He will be able to do what is being asked of him because he is strong. He is strong. His strength comes from following. His strength does not come from one's own endeavor. His strength comes from his obedience, from his submissiveness, from following. That's called empowerment. He is empowered because he is following. Empowerment comes by following. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, it is the spiritual. Not only are they strong, but they are also endowed with spiritual power. Spiritual power means, wherever they go, they bring auspiciousness, purity, etc., etc. The grace of the Lord, etc. Like that. And then Lord Chaitanya speaks about one other principle to Sanatana Goswami. That I think is a very amazing principle. Lord Chaitanya says a Vaishnava is adosha darshi. Can someone tell me what that means? Adosha darshi.
He doesn't see fault in others.
Yeah, he won't see any doshas in others.
He won't see any faults.
Any faults.
Adosha darshi. So Lord Chaitanya is saying a devotee is adosha darshi. Actually, it's a very interesting verse. Lord Chaitanya is not saying a devotee will kind of tolerate all the faults. He's saying you won't see faults. I don't know. There's a huge difference between the two terms. Yes or no?
Yes.
Huge difference. I may see faults and I may tolerate, saying I'm a Vaishnava, I should be tolerant. Otherwise it is seva aparadha. Otherwise, there's something called tolerating faults in others. But a true Vaishnava is called adosha darshi, means he doesn't even see faults. When he looks at somebody, he says, he's also trying to chant, he's trying to serve, he's trying to be a good devotee, trying to be a good disciple. He's enthusiastic, he comes to these programs, occasionally he misses. Maybe something wrong. He will never say it's because he is not yet sufficiently pure or interested. It's something he will say, adosha darshi. He can't see faults. He'll say, what's wrong? She's doing fantastic. If he continues like this, he'll become a pure devotee. Adosha darshi. So Lord Chaitanya says, and this is one more quality of a Vaishnava.
Prabhuji, is this Adoshadarshi, is it in the context of other Vaishnavas or in general of any person? Because it's very tough. So
I agree. So Adoshadarshi means, in its highest form of practice, Adoshadarshi means he doesn't see any fault in anybody. That is mentioned. Because a pure devotee in his purest ecstasy, he will look at everybody as being a devotee and he will say, I am the only one who is the odd man out who is not a devotee. Adoshadarshi in its highest form. But then see, let's not imitate, okay? Maybe very inspiring, but we should not imitate. For us, Adoshadarshi means it begins by first not trying to meditate on the faults of devotees. Adoshadarshi.
Prabhuji, one more item, sorry. Probably the same character is there with the term bonafide as well. Like bonafide also, this is one of the characters where the person or the devotee won't be seeing any faults in others. But apart from that, there are some additional qualifications as well for bonafide. But what is the difference between bonafide and Adoshadarshi? Is this the only quality or some other qualities are imbibed in this Adoshadarshi?
See, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know so much about bonafide. I don't want to go into, at the moment, because I don't know so much about bonafide. I have not come across that term. I mean, I am not prepared with that term for today's class. Some other time maybe I can speak about it. But the point is this. Whether a particular person is Gunatita or Adoshadarshi, please understand one thing. What is the spirit behind both these, using both these words? And Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya says, one of the fundamental quality of a Vaishnava is that he is overjoyed when he sees another Vaishnava. He becomes very inspired when he sees another Vaishnava struggling to practice, struggling to improve his devotional service. He becomes very enthusiastic or joyful when he sees that somebody else is trying to make sacrifices and trying to become serious and trying to become very, focused, etc., etc. Lord Chaitanya becomes very inspired. And Lord Chaitanya explains, Prabhupada also explains that maybe, by the way, he's still not yet completed his process of personal purification. That means, maybe by the way, he has not yet completed his process of personal purification, which means maybe there are some occasional faults here and there that are still visible in him. But Lord Chaitanya says that it will all be over by passage of time, in no time at all. Because he's almost there. He'll make it. Maybe today, maybe not today, tomorrow, sometime. He'll become a perfect devotee of Krishna. So, Lord Chaitanya is not paying too much attention to the faults. Lord Chaitanya is looking at the positive sides and he's serving, he's enthusiastic, he's loving, he's caring, he's struggling to serve his guru, please him in his own way. He's struggling to keep his head high in this material world and still continue as a devotee. So our duty is to serve him, help him, serve him, help him, assist him, glorify him, encourage him. He's almost there. He's actually a pure devotee. Just some little small process of purification is not yet completed. So whether he's a Gunatita or Adoshadarshi, I would guess that his spirit is like this. One of appreciation, one of glorification, one of joy when he sees a devotee who is struggling to practice. Struggling to practice and struggling to keep his head up and then practice. One of joy and one of willingness to serve and support such a devotee. Now, if that is I would think that is the overriding spirit. Now, in terms of difference, maybe there's a difference between someone being an Adoshadarshi and Gunatita. I'm not in a position to comment on it right now here today. Maybe some other time when we meet, if I understand the word Gunatita carefully, I'll be able to comment. But today, I don't know. I hope you don't mind. I have not come across. I have not put my mind on understanding the word Gunatita. So I don't want to comment. Maybe you're right. There's a difference between the two terms, but I can't. So Adoshadarshi or Gunatita, because from what you're saying, these words are similar. I would think that the point is, overriding point is that we as Vaishnavas should be delighted to see another practicing devotee. Okay? Alright, now. The other thing that goes with Vaishnava etiquette is Vaishnava only accepts the good qualities and not the faults. accepts only the good qualities, does not find faults in others. Not that he finds faults and is trying to practice tolerance, but he just doesn't find faults. He says, he's doing fine. He's so nice. He's chanting. He's taking prasad. He's just about to begin to take prasad. He comes for this program. He attends the program. He does this. He does that. There's good hope for him. Like that. Okay? Now, there's a flip side of Adoshadarshi. Lord Chaitanya speaks about it. The flip side of Adoshadarshi is a Vaishnava will be very anxious to find fault. In whom?
Oneself.
A Vaishnava will be very anxious to find fault in oneself always. He's very strict with himself, but very compassionate, understanding and loving, empathizing towards others who have some so-called faults. But with himself, a Vaishnava is trying to be as strict as he can. It says a Vaishnava is always watching himself scrutinizingly and trying to detect all faults. Alright, now let's say he detects faults. What does a Vaishnava do? What does a Vaishnava do if he does actually detect faults in himself?
Correct himself.
Yes, how? Where does the correction begin?
Stay in association with
Taking
God.
association, then engaging in service, taking counselling from a senior devotee. Also by praying to Krishna, praying to Vaishnavas, praying to the Guru, praying to them in a very prayerful mood, approaching them saying that this habit of mine is irritating other devotees, is causing pain, anxiety to the other devotees who are around me. They are somehow mercifully tolerating me. My Lord, will you kindly be merciful to me and bless me so that instead of irritating them, I am actually engaged in serving them nicely. Instead of irritating them, maybe can I please be engaged in serving them nicely? So we beg the Lord beg the Lord and we beg the dust from the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. We thank them for tolerating us, etc. Saying, you've been very kind, you've been very merciful, you've been very tolerant, you've been very understanding. I don't deserve any of these things for putting up with me. I am grateful to you. Now, will you kindly extend your compassion to me by blessing me so that I become a better devotee in my life? Will you kindly extend, I'm begging you to kindly extend your compassion and bless me so that I become a better devotee. This is the mood of a devotee. This is the thing that has to come out of one's heart by practice of proper principles of Vaishnava etiquette. What has to come out is this mood. This mood is what has to come out of a devotee's heart. Generally our heart tends to be very self-centered, very hard, very envious, very this, very that. But by following the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, there's some hope for all of us. Alright, now what happens when someone is neglectful of the principles of Vaishnava etiquette? What happens?
Knowingly or unknowingly you are hurting.
Pardon me?
Knowingly or unknowingly you are hurting.
Yeah, knowingly or unknowingly you
will commit offences.
You will commit offences. What happens?
You will fall down.
You may fall down. It is said that when someone is committing Vaishnava aparadh, big or small, continuously and is neglecting to correct himself, it is said that just as a bird grows up in the nest of its mother and when it comes of age it flies away, it is said that all Vedic knowledge, Vedic whatever, wisdom, intelligence, everything goes away. If someone is disrespectful and continuously disrespectful, careless, I'm not even using the word offense, that's a very serious thing. Even if you're disrespectful and careless and negligent and even small minor seva aparadhas that you're continuously doing and you're neglectful and you're not conscious, you're not correcting, there is a risk that things may fly out. All that's good may fly away from you. So Lord Chaitanya, Sanatana Goswami is warning us that don't think that Vaishnava etiquette is just about learning how to be. No, this is about how to survive in this world, how to make progress in this world as a devotee. how to make progress in this world. And it said, you may be a pandita, you may be a scholar, you may be very well versed in scripture, you may have gone to all the holy places, but if there is negligence in Vaishnav etiquette, Vaishnava Sajachar, and you make it a habit to be disrespectful, negligent, careless, overconfident, prideful, whatever, callous about dealing with Vaishnavas and dealing with issues such as Vaishnava seva aparad or aparad or offensive attitude. And there is the risk that we may lose. Hence, it is said that a devotee is always under the care of a guru, of a Vaishnava, always wants to learn, etc. Now, the opposite of that. If someone is very careful, is very, very careful, is very conscious, is very prayerful, is always discussing, I hope I am not offended, I hope my behavior is not considered as being proud or arrogant or overconfident or impatient or irritable or whatever, then it is said that for such a devotee, it is mentioned in the scriptures that proper Vaishnava Sadachar is guaranteed to give someone name, fame, opulence, longevity and bhakti. And bhakti, unshakable bhakti, unshakable faith in Guru and Krishna. And goes on, a few more sections are there. It is said that a devotee should be careful not to use unpleasant words in conversations. I mean, I've seen children nowadays, teenagers, the so-called millennials, they don't care so much before calling each other different, I don't know what. So one has to be very careful that we don't use disrespectful words even accidentally. We should be very careful because Vaishnava is very dear to Krishna. Because there's a risk that someday you may use that word against some Vaishnava. You may use that word against some Vaishnava because it becomes a habit. So which is why it is said whether your children grown up, whatever, always have a little bit of formality in your relationships. Always have some formality, little bit at least. So you don't cross the boundary and become very, very familiar and frivolous. Frivolous means calling each other by different nicknames or this name or that name. So be careful. And the other thing Lord Chaitanya says is, never speak ill of others. If you have to speak ill of others, better avoid that situation. Never speak ill of others. Better avoid. If somebody is tempting you to asking you probing questions about, tell me about him, well, somehow escape. But no need for you to speak ill about. Of course, in management situations, we speak about different problems that we are facing, but that's from a different perspective. How to correct situation, how to handle the crisis that's been created, etc., etc. But not with the intentions of speaking ill against someone. See, it's like when you're sick, you go to a doctor and doctor will analyze what's your problem because he wants to cure you, he wants to treat you, he wants to set right what is the problem. So a Vaishnava authority is more like that. He is trying to see, okay, no problem, but there's a solution. Don't worry, don't lose hope. There's a way of getting over it. Let's see how to fix that problem. So, like a doctor does, like a teacher does, when someone goes wrong in maths or physics, he'll say, come here, I'll teach you how to do this properly. That does not mean we're speaking ill of someone. That's different. There's a whole difference in mood. Like a doctor, you trust a doctor so much that he'll even cut you up. Sometimes they do surgery. Because you trust him, because you know what he's doing is good for you. Similarly, Guru also. What he does is always eternally, always good for us. But because we are not sufficiently in that form, when we speak ill about somebody, it's because we get some kind of some kind of a thrill in speaking ill about somebody, gossiping about somebody and so on. So Lord Chaitanya says, never ever speak unpleasant words, never speak ill about somebody. Try and avoid that situation. For a manager, there's no choice. Somebody is the president, somebody is vice president. They have to deal with the good, the bad, the ugly. But that's a challenge they have to face and deal. But they have to be They have to be very fair, they have to be very honest, they have to be very tolerant, they have to be compassionate, they have to be kind, but at the same time they have to protect the community, protect the devotees and do some correction. And even that correction, there's a whole art of doing correction. Vaishnav etiquette, that's a whole chapter by itself. How do we correct another devotee? At the same time, not decreasing his enthusiasm or not making it appear like an offense. Do not become inimical towards others. Never speak ill of others. Never use unpleasant words. Do not become inimical towards others. Do not develop friendship with unchaste, proud, envious, inimical, extravagant, deceptive people. Never develop friendship with people who have these kind of qualities. Don't develop friendship with such people. Do not become inimical towards others. That means inimical means don't allow some problem, interpersonal problem, to stay in your mind so long that you start disliking that person. So don't keep such problems in your mind and heart for such a long time that you start disliking that person. Be careful. Sort it out. Talk to him. Talk to somebody. Take someone's help. Sort it out. Try and see how you can solve it. Okay? Like that. So we'll stop with that. Now let's go to Prabhuji's question. He asked me a question about... What was your question?
Whether wherever there is a mention of
is it
dealing with
concerning
other
devotees?
devotee, does it mean Uttamadhikari or Kanishtadhikari? That's my question.
See, from the Lord's perspective, the Lord loves everybody. The Lord loves all His, we are all His children, so the Lord loves all of us. Maybe someone is at the present moment in time a little more serious devotee than someone else. But there's no question that the Lord doesn't love anybody. Everybody is children of God. Even the non-devotees are children of God, and to that extent the Lord loves him. Because they're all children of God. They're all children of the same Father, our Lord Krishna. Nobody... So there is no question of not showing love or affection or concern for someone who is not a devotee. Actually, it is said that sometimes the Lord will show more concern, more affection for someone who has not yet become a devotee. Because he is concerned, he is worried. Oh, this person may suffer more and more. What can I do to bring him into the fold? What can I do to bring him into the fold quickly? How can I save him? So the Lord will end up showing more concern, more love to a non-devotee. To a non-devotee. Because of his love, because he is concerned, he is worried. All the Uttamadhikaris have already, by the way, they have already crossed one level. What about those who haven't? So how do I actually save them? How do I rescue them? How do I protect them? So the Lord ends up showing more mercy, more compassion towards them. So if we are conscious of the Lord's mood, then there's no question of we not showing that, we not reciprocating in the same manner. That is, there's no question of looking at someone's devotional stature and, what is the right word? Showing difference. Yeah, there is difference. The person who's not a devotee is more deserving of our attention, of our love, of our affection, of our care, of our prayers. My Lord, so and so has still not yet made it. He's still not yet started chanting. He's very unsteady. Can you kindly bless him so that he becomes more steady in his chanting? These parents are struggling with these kids. That he's struggling with his in-laws, struggling with his wife, struggling. My Lord, kindly bless them so that they all become more attentive, more serious, more careful. So we show more attention, more affection, and there's no question of taking anything that they say or do in an offensive manner. We can't take. Sometimes they are disrespectful. Sometimes they may say, "I'm not interested right now. No, I don't want to come. I don't believe in all this." Whatever it is, they may say different ways. So sometimes, in the Vedic scriptures, this example is used. There's a little baby in the womb of the mother, and the baby is throwing its legs and kicking the mother apparently. But will the mother take offense? Mother will actually like it. It's say, "Oh, my baby is active now inside the womb." Or even when the baby is being carried, the baby will kick the mother playfully. With his leg, etc. But will the mother take offense? No. Mother will say, "My child, How can I take offense? So same manner, a devotee is also so large-hearted, ocean of mercy. What's that verse? Vancha kalpatarubhyasya krupa sindhubhya evacha. Sindhu means ocean. Ocean of mercy. Nobody can escape from the merciful glance of the Vaishnava. A merciful glance of a Vaishnava is so powerful, so deep, so all-encompassing, so lovely, so nobody can escape. There's no question of not showing love and affection to anybody. A devotee is a universal giver. He gives to everybody. Whatever he can, to the best extent he can. So, it's not that we only care for Bhagavatas. We derive inspiration by serving their lotus feet. But when it comes to giving, we are ready to give to anybody. Anybody, any number of times. Any number of times. Because we represent Krishna's love. And we want to do what we can. Alright? But of course, all this has to be done under the guidance of a guru. We can't become artificially Sahaji at times. It has to be done under the guidance. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes, especially my question is in the context of Vaishnava Prarthana. From an offense towards the Vaishnava, from that point of view, I was trying to understand.
Okay. So you're saying non-devotee, can we be rude to him? As against being rude to a devotee. So which is more harmful? Which is more...
Because in a day-to-day work, you have to deal with all kinds of people. Sometimes without the danda, work doesn't happen. You're dealing with different sects of people, especially when you are engaging in your middle activities.
See, there is the concept of punishment. Let us not forget it at all. It has Vedic sanction. Lord Rama punished Ravana. He allowed his army of Vanaras to punish, to what shall I say, to fight and kill all the Rakshasas. So there is the concept of punishment. There can be punishment. Punishment can be given. It's the job of the Kshatriya to punish. So there is the law. Manu Dharma Shastra speaks about it. You can punish. You can be strict. You can danda. You can sternly take action against people who are violating principles of dharma, etc. Vishwamitra told Lord Rama, it doesn't matter. She's not a woman. Kill her. Because she can't hide under that kind of an excuse saying, okay, I'm a woman, you can't kill me. She can't be given that kind of protection. Kill her. In order to protect society. So danda can be used. The managers have to learn. Kshatriyas have to learn how to use it. So punishment is there. It's a different matter that Lord Chaitanya says in Kali Yuga. But that's handling things at a spiritual level. Instead of punishing or killing them, Lord Chaitanya transformed them. Jaga and Madai being a suitable example. So Lord Chaitanya transformed them. So Lord Chaitanya transformed Chand Kazi, the Muslim governor. Lord Chaitanya transformed many other people. Lord Chaitanya transformed the Mayavadis, who were greatest offenders of the Lord. So at one extreme you have Lord Chaitanya and how he deals with those who are inimical, who are non-devotees. But at the other extreme, there is a duty of the Kshatriya to punish. And that's not considered wrong. One has to know when to do it, how to do it, and how to tactfully do it. Kshatriya's job is to punish. When Duryodhana tried to steal all the cows that belonged to the king of Virat ordered his army, saying, go and punish him. How dare he come here and steal the cows that belong to our kingdom. But it's a different matter that Arjuna went and fought him. But the king of Virat ordered that he should be captured and punished. So punishment is there, but we have to be careful when to use it, to what extent we can use. We must be very careful.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu, you had a question.
Almost the question, I think it's the same thing. In the current scenario, how do we balance the Vaishnava etiquette between, working with the Vaishnavas and then also maintaining our material work, and how to balance that?
We have to learn. Because work where we are dealing with. See, everybody has, when you hire somebody to do a particular work, then he has to do that work. If he doesn't do, then you can warn him. You can tell him. Then if you don't want to punish him, you remove him or something like that. But the concept of fear has to be there. People should be respectful. They should be very scared that if I don't do, then I might be subject to punishment. And it's there. The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the good, protect the saints, punish the miscreants. Bhagavad Gita says. What is that famous verse? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam. Punishment is there. But like I said, in Kali Yuga, it's a very unusual age. Lord Chaitanya chose not to punish them in that sense of the word. Lord Chaitanya chose to remove that source of impurity by giving them the holy name. You can try that. You can try giving them prasad, making them chant, etc. But the job of the king is to exercise punishment when it becomes absolutely necessary. Unhesitatingly. Krishna tells Arjuna, even though Dronacharya may be your guru, he is worthy of being punished right now. And please go ahead and do it. Even though Bhishma was his grandfather, Krishna said, just go ahead and do what is required to establish dharma. But it becomes okay because they acted under the direct instruction of Krishna. We cannot take law into our own hands. We have to verify. I mean, there were times when people used to come to ISKCON steal and Prabhupada tried different ways to change them, etc. But there are also times when some manager said he was caught stealing and I have no choice but I've asked him to leave or something like that. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, why did you do that? But sometimes Prabhupada would say, what can you do if he's not learning? Like that. Yes, any other question? Yes, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, very nice lecture and very enlightening topic. We all need this and we would like to have more such lectures from you. Probably my question is, unless we get very practical seva, like even chanting is a seva, we do it, but we do it on silos. And we think there is no much offense there, but even while doing that, we are inattentive and it's also an offense. But having our materialistic mindset and I am coming from a very materialistic background, and when my superior give me some seva, then I start saying, oh, how can he tell me like that? Or there is something wrong in that management. Although there is a higher purpose in that, what my superior is saying. And at the end, everything is good. What he has done is perfectly correct and it works out very well by the mercy of the Lord and by his mercy. But to me, at initial stage, it looks like, oh, this is wrong. But I am offending him and I may even share this with other peers and offend him. So how to come out of this situation? While we take service, that's where this problems comes up and we have to go through that purification. So what is your suggestion for this?
So in the Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned that in the 12th chapter it is mentioned that one should learn the art of being patient. And we should also have that, it's mentioned, I mentioned today, to be fully convinced that the spiritual master is my well-wisher and he cannot and will not do anything that is against my interest, long-term interest. He will not. And the spiritual master is my best well-wisher, best advisor, best friend, etc. So we should be firmly convinced and we should be patient. Many times as the things unfold, then we realize that maybe we prematurely judge some event or some person. Prematurely, in a hurry, we judge somebody. Because actually speaking, a guru will never do any harm to you. Whatever the guru does, Krishna will set it right. Even in the case, let us say there's been a small indiscretion or whatever, I mean we cannot speak like that about the guru. It appears like guru has misjudged or misunderstood us. The Lord has his way of correcting it in a very transcendental manner. so that the wrong becomes right. Because Krishna wants to uphold the institution of the Guru. I mean, generally speaking. So we should learn to be a little patient. But this was the problem that Duryodhana had. So he became impatient with Bhishma. He said, "You're not fighting properly, you're supporting the Pandavas, and I don't think you're loyal to me." All these things. Bhishma becomes so angry at Duryodhana and says, "How dare you suspect my loyalty? I may have affection for Arjuna, but that doesn't mean I'll be disloyal to you. I cannot and I will not be disloyal to you. But definitely I have some affection for them, and I also think Dharma is on their side. But that doesn't mean I won't fight on your behalf. That doesn't mean I won't fight vehemently on your behalf. I am Bhishma, and there's only one way in which I fight. I fight with full power, full rosh, full josh, whatever. That's the only way I know how to fight, and that's how I'm fighting on your behalf. But there's nothing we can do. There's Krishna on the other side. Even 1,000 Bhishmas can't do you any good, Duryodhana. You're a fool. You're thinking one Bhishma. Even if you have 1,000 Bhishmas, we can't do anything. There's just Krishna there. So you're misjudging me, etc. So that's what Bhishma will tell. So Prabhupada also says, sometimes he says that, when a lady gets pregnant, she has to wait for 9 months. So same way, we have to be tolerant, we have to be patient, and that's called dhira. Dhira means patient, grave, mature. That's the meaning of the word maturity. You won't judge instantaneously. This is the WhatsApp culture and the Facebook culture. Before you read the message quickly, you have already sent a reply. Your reply is gone. And that person, without reading it completely, he will put it on viral mode or whatever, broadcast mode.
Forward.
So, forward, like that. So no, it's completely upside down, this Kali Yuga philosophy, Kali Yuga civilization. Be patient. Analyze, think, consult, discuss. And you can always go back to your Guru, like Rama went back to Vishwamitra and says, how can I kill Tataka? We can go back to the Guru, go back to your authority and says, Prabhu, I am having some difficulty in understanding this. If there was, by the way, something that the person overlooked, he'll immediately correct himself. He says, oh my, I never realized this. Now you're telling me, good you told me, now don't do this, do like that. Because, see, a Vaishnava is a well-wisher, end of the day. And Vaishnava doesn't sit on a platform of ego or pride. He says, no, who are you to tell me? How dare you correct me? Don't you know Vaishnav Etiquette? Go and attend that class. The recording will be there on the YouTube. Lilananda channel. Go and attend. Then you come back to me. Krishna is a very lovable person. Vaishnava means lovable. He's a rasgulla. Like him. He correct himself. So, I'm sorry, I overlooked this. Something like that he will say. Okay.
Prabhuji, one more in that connection. Like you said, Lord Rama consulted all the commander-in-chief and took their opinion. In the same way, we see this quality in many of the Vaishnavas. Even we do any small thing, they take our opinion as a very big thing. So pride comes, and how to deal with that.
Oh. So, there's this if we are constantly meditating on what we have achieved, then there's chances that will actually sow the seeds of pride, and the creeper of pride will grow if you're constantly meditating on what we have achieved, what we have done, what appreciation we have got, etc. And the creeper of pride has a very good chance of growing, flourishing nicely. So one has to be very careful that we don't do that. It is said that at best we say that whatever good has happened is because of the merciful glance of my Guru and Krishna. Because of their merciful glance, something nice has happened. Because actually that's the fact, because it said Prabhupada himself may use his example. Sometimes a doctor treats somebody, he may not cure, he may die. But the same treatment to some other patient may survive. So it's not your treatment or your skill or something. It's just that at the right time, Krishna uses you as an instrument to achieve something. And you start stealing the credit. That's the risk. So it's mentioned that at the end of the Kurukshetra war, when they go and ask Barbaric, so who was the greatest warrior of them all? So what does Barbaric say? You don't know the story? The Barbaric story?
No.
Barbaric will say, I didn't see anybody fighting. I only saw Krishna fighting. I didn't see anybody else fighting. There was only Krishna and Krishna and Krishna and Krishna alone. I didn't see anybody else fighting. How can anybody else claim to be a good warrior or a... It was only Krishna who fought everywhere I could only see Krishna. Which is a fact. It's Krishna who made the outcome of the Kurukshetra war what it became. It's Krishna who fought. So we can't steal the credit. This is at a philosophical level, that everything that's happening, all that's good that is happening in our life is by the mercy of Krishna, by the mercy of Lord's merciful glance upon us. But it's also mentioned that sometimes when in the presence of Lord Chaitanya, people would say, "Oh, you're Krishna," he would cover his ears and say, "Please, don't say this." Prabhupada had this remarkable capacity. He achieved so much, but he was so very disarmingly simple. So very simple and light-hearted that no credit would stand it like a kirita or something. No, disarmingly simple. He would smile, he would laugh, he would sit with the devotees, have kirtan, joke with them, take prasad, as if he was one among them. In many ways, he would conduct himself like that. And also we should understand that the more credit we give to Guru and Krishna, the more dear we become to Krishna. And the more credit we pass on, the more empowered we become. So from a philosophical perspective, I can't think of a better example of pridelessness than Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who compiled the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, at the end of every chapter he writes, what am I? I'm deaf, I'm dumb, I'm blind, my body is shaking, I suffer from old age, this and that. I'm not able to believe that this book is being written by me. Actually, it is not being written by me. I'm also watching how Lord Chaitanya is making me write all this. How by the mercy of my Guru, the Vaishnavas, etc., this book is manifesting itself. This I can clearly understand is the desire of Lord Chaitanya. The strong desire of all the followers of Lord Chaitanya that all his pastimes should be documented. I've just become an instrument. Personally, I'm neither qualified nor have any iota of qualification. And I'm so old, I'm half blind. I cannot even see. I can't hold him. But this book is happening. To me, it's a miracle of faith. It's a miracle of faith. To me, it's a continuation of Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Lord Chaitanya left this planet and went away. Lord Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote years after Lord Chaitanya left this planet. But he said, I can see that there's a continuation of the miracles that Lord Chaitanya, this is one more miracle that Lord Chaitanya is doing. He is engaging me in writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Neither I understand the philosophy nor anything. It is just that the prayer, and it's the blessing and the order of all the Vaishnavas. They order me, you write. And I'm just trying to execute that order, that this book is happening. So, whenever we come under the influence of pride, we have to read some things like this. We always should have a quota of things like this stored away in our mind or written somewhere. Whenever we get the attack of this virus called pride, we should take this vaccine. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There are some pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but we just don't have the time. Hopefully some other time. Some amazing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya illustrating the principles of Vaishnav Etiquette. Some other time we'll talk.
Small announcement.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you for being so patient, and it's been a long lecture, but it didn't feel long even till the end. So let us thank Varada Krishna Prabhu with 3 loud, loving Haribols. Prabhuji has, this is maybe the 4th time, I don't know, I have not counted, but maybe this is the 4th time Prabhuji is coming to. 3rd? Hare Krishna. Yeah, but even though it's the 3rd time, we really feel that, Prabhuji is part of our family, and he's seeing children grow here. As he comes every time. I think part of the thing that we have to do as a family is the amount of time and effort Prabhuji has kept. Yesterday morning he came to Hyderabad, and today is here, and he has come here to give this class, and just the amount of time he has taken to even write those notes. I think I want to take a Xerox of those pages. And of course, really hear this lecture again. I have personally, I hear a lot of lectures. For me, that's my feast. I have never heard such a I'm speechless. Amazing lecture on Vaishnav Etiquettes. It's really a feast for all of us. And I feel that this is God sent. This is Lord Chaitanya sent. Like Prabhuji ended that everything, Lord Chaitanya's miracles are still continuing as per Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I think it's also a miracle that Prabhuji came here and gave this topic to all of us today. Something that maybe all of us needed. I personally needed. How to understand the importance of Vaishnava etiquettes and how vast a subject of a topic it is. Haribhakti Vilas is an amazing book. Frankly, I started reading it and then I got scared. There's so much of a detail, but even reading it purifies us. So we all can try, getting that book from the temple and reading Haribhakti Vilas. And so let us request Varada Krishna Prabhu to come here at least, once in 3 months. Prabhuji, is that? Yeah, because sometimes this arrival of senior Vaishnavas brings a lot of corrections, in every one of us. Krishna speaks through Vaishnavas to us. We should never forget that. It's equivalent to Krishna speaking right now, because he spoke through the Vaishnava. We should remember that. And talking about Krishna speaking through Vaishnavas, we've got a confirmation, Prabhuji, that on 27th of March, His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj is speaking to all of us. And I'm also working with Teja Mataji. Where is she? Yeah. She is trying to get the mercy of His Holiness Bhakti Raghav Maharaj sometime in April. So we have to, these are not ordinary incidents, so they are giving their time, and I would request Prabhuji that if there is opportunity, don't want to give more pain to Maharaj, but if His Holiness Japataka Maharaj can give one, yes, is it possible for you?
We'll see. Same time slot, Sunday evening?
Or any time slot, whenever Maharaj is.
Yeah, because generally Sunday evening he gives his evening class. So maybe if you advance it a little bit.
Yes, we will make all the adjustments. Haribol! So this is like, these are the most important things in spiritual life, to hear from great Vaishnavas, because they're going to tell us what we need to hear. We often discuss so many things within us, but there is always something waiting for us to hear. So once again, this has been a great evening. I think a lot of things have been discussed on Vaishnava etiquettes. There is a lot to meditate. Yes, sometimes we hear, and when Prabhuji said, ISKCON say ISKCON. ISKCON say ISKCON. So we hear so many nice things in ISKCON, but sometimes we are hesitant to implement it. But I think at least few things, I personally made a note what I want to do. At least the next 3 months, and show some improvement on that. And that is on the cleanliness side. I felt, my wife always keeps saying, unclean, externally, internally, whatever. So I have to start working on it. And there are so many other things. I was meditating while Prabhuji was speaking. It was like, one Prabhuji, his name is Keshavanand Prabhu, he told beautifully that if you read every purport of Prabhupada just by putting Dear Lilananda Prabhu at the beginning, it as if feels that he is talking to you. so never any of the purport is repetitive. Prabhupada is speaking to us. So everything that Prabhuji spoke today, just if we prefix with our name, right, that's very much that we are supposed to hear. So I'm so grateful, Prabhuji, for your time and being here. There is a lot of us in the room right now. I'm sure social distancing is a concern, but there is Krishna in between all of us. And wherever there is Krishna, there is victory. Where there is all auspiciousness. So I humbly request everyone to sit down, and only 4 or 5 of you can come and start serving the prasadam. There is going to be a little bit of coordination needed because we are too many in the room, or some can even go outside the door and we'll try to coordinate. Yeah, I think if all of you sit, and you can even go into the other rooms, we'll bring the prasadam to the other rooms. So we'll end with the Narsimati. Yes, we would like to sing this. Yeah? Okay. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की
जय विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सतश्री श्रीमद् विद्यान ग्रेस भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सतश्री श्रीमद् विद्यान ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से गौर श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की नरसिंह क्षेत्र होबल धाम की श्री श्री गंगा यमुना माई कावेरी मैया की जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री श्री
राधा गोपी वल्लभा
राधा गोपी वल्लभा श्री श्री गौर निताय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय अनंत गौरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Mahaprasada.
One quick announcement, Haribol, one quick announcement. Come here. Mali Maya production. Come here. Please come here. Hare Krishna. This is Malingam. Haribol Prabhuji's Hare Krishna announcement. I would like to request Malingam Hare Prabhu to take blessings of Varada Krishna Prabhu. Malingam Hare Prabhu has started preaching in PHEL for youth. Today was his first session and more than 100 people attended. So I require your blessings, Prabhuji, so he can spread that.
Krishna bless you.
Let us pray for Malingam Hare Prabhu and his efforts to spread Prabhupada's message. You three loud. Thank you very much. Please have prasad.
Mahaprasade
Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Salva Punyavatam Rajan Vishwasane Vajayate
Jadendriya Kahekar Logo Maya Sudharmati Akacheta Samsare